Chapter 311. But other than the general outline of the body still resembling a human, Lin Yuan was completely unable to link this lump of mangled flesh with a living person. In other words, he could not even begin to imagine how tenacious this person's life force was, or how skillful Luo Su's methods were, to be able to turn the body into such a state and still have a single breath of life left in him. Looking at this lump of mangled flesh, Qiao Yilan's eyelids twitched slightly. As the saying goes, a new broom sweeps clean 3 fires. No one knew if Lei Fan, the newly appointed king of the northern frontier, would do such a thing. But Qiao Yilan was certain that the other party now had the Black Snake backing him up. His subordinates were able to mobilize the Northern Territory Chamber of Commerce, which controlled all the demonic beast raw materials in the northern frontier, as well as the Association of the Demon Emperor, which controlled the underworld. The 600,000-strong Northern Frontier Guard Legion was also firmly under his control. Even the officials in the Northern Frontier Duke's Palace were all selected from the commoners. Under such absolute control, the Duke's Palace in the Northern Frontier had the ability to go toe-to-toe with any other power. Hence, if the other party wanted to make a move, he would definitely make the biggest move. For example, the Qiao family. Hence, the Qiao family had thought of all sorts of ways and means to send a few spies into the Northern Frontier Duke's Palace. Just like the previous government order to sever the foundations of the various aristocratic families and sects in the Northern Frontier, it had been leaked out by these spies. Although it was only a matter of time before the spies would be exposed before the eyes of the Northern Frontier Duke's Palace, Qiao Yilan had never thought that this day would come so quickly. What was even more unexpected was that Lei Fan had merely caught hold of a small flaw in the Qiao family, and he had actually dared to bring the remains of the spies to their doorstep to demand an explanation from the Qiao family. Hearing Lei Fan's words, Lin Yuan's eyes suddenly turned cold. The lines in his mind connected at this moment, and he suddenly figured it out. The reason why the Qiao clan had prepared a sea of men to welcome him was definitely not because they could predict the future and knew that he was coming for the abandoned son of the Qiao clan. The Qiao clan's actions were because they saw that his decree could cut off the foundations of the aristocratic families and sects, so they wanted to use this opportunity to flex their muscles in front of the Wang estate and Lin Yuan at the northern frontier. They wanted to show that the Qiao clan was not an existence that could be bullied. However, Qiao Yilan did not expect that their sea of men tactic would not only fail to intimidate Lin Yuan, but also embarrass him. Tisk, no wonder Patriarch Qiao made such a big fuss. It turns out that you misunderstood this king's intentions. Lin Yuan's cold gaze fell on Qiao Yilan's face, and Qiao Yilan suddenly felt a chill run down his spine. Then, Lin Yuan did not give Qiao Yilan a chance to explain. He silently took 2 steps forward, and the aura on his body was not restrained in the slightest. Like a tidal wave, it smashed toward Qiao Yilan. Heaven Dipper Realm Expert? Sorry, but Lin Yuan was not weak at all. In the blood boil state, Lin Yuan was definitely not a match for demonic beasts in terms of attribute points. However, when facing humans whose physique was far inferior to demonic beasts, Lin Yuan still had the ability to fight. Even if Heaven Dipper Realm experts did not lose to demonic beasts in all aspects, humans' balanced and perfect body structure determined that humans' ability to fight overload was far inferior to demonic beasts. If the two sides engaged in a high-intensity battle, Lin Yuan might be able to endure the duration of the blood boil state, but Qiao Yilan might be crushed to death by his own overload pressure. After all, not losing was not losing, but there was definitely a difference. For example, the Fire Kirin's fight against Yan Xingqi and Master Qiuwen was the best example. In terms of individual combat ability, regardless of the realm, demonic beasts were still stronger. However, humans were better at teamwork. Moreover, in a battle of life and death, no one could count on the other to follow the rules, right? Qiao Yilan's face stiffened, and he said in a deep voice, "Lord Dragon King, what is the meaning of this?" "There is no other meaning. I just feel that the Qiao clan should change its leader." Lin Yuan had the confidence to win against Qiao Yilan, so his words were naturally firm. If he went against the Qiao clan for that secret, Lin Yuan might be able to win, but it would definitely be very damaging. It might even give the Qiao clan a chance to ally with other clans and sects to go against the northern frontier prince's residence. However, now that he was going against the Qiao clan, Lin Yuan had the right to do so. After all, no ruler would allow the clans and sects to place chess pieces around them, let alone something like peeking at secrets. Therefore, if this matter was blown up, the Qiao clan would definitely not have an easy time. Even the other clans and sects would stay away from the Qiao clan to avoid arousing suspicion. Qiao Yilan's chest heaved up and down violently, but his eyes suddenly turned cold. He said in a cold voice, "Since Lord Dragon King is so overbearing, then let's see who's the real deal." Before Lei Fan had rushed here, Qiao Yilan had thought of countless ways to deal with Lin Yuan if he were to fall out with him. Among them, the safest way was to use the combined strength of 3 Heaven Dipper realm experts to fight against Lin Yuan. No matter how ferocious this beast king who had never tasted defeat since he was born was, it was obviously impossible for him to win against 3 Heaven Dipper realm experts working together. But now, 3 Heaven Dipper realm experts working together to fight against Lin Yuan? What was the difference between that and an open rebellion? Qiao Yilan very quickly realized that this was Lin Yuan's intention to weaken the Qiao family's strength. Since the Qiao family was in the wrong, they could only choose to take on Lin Yuan's vengeance head-on. If they won today's battle, it would still be fine. Although he did not dare to openly kill Lin Yuan, but after dealing a heavy blow to Lin Yuan, he would be able to quickly reap the benefits of that secret. But if he was unable to defeat Lin Yuan, then the Qiao family could really change their leader. Because he did not dare to kill Lin Yuan, but if Lin Yuan were to kill him, he would not have any psychological burden at all. The moment Qiao Yilan's voice fell, he suddenly felt that the water spirit qi in the air had started to flow quickly, and was rapidly converging towards his location. F***CK. Qiao Yilan did not care about his demeanor as a Heaven Dipper realm expert as he opened his mouth and cursed out loud. He had intended to exchange a few harsh words with Lin Yuan, secretly cut off some benefits, and let this matter pass. However, he did not expect that Lin Yuan would not have the slightest intention to talk nonsense with him. Almost at the same time when his face turned cold, Lin Yuan had already begun to make his move. If he was not a Heaven Dipper realm expert and was extremely sensitive to the Heaven-Earth Spirit Qi, he might have already fallen into Lin Yuan's hands. However, although he was cursing out loud, Qiao Yilan's dodging actions were still extremely fast. Almost at the same time that he noticed the abnormality, he had already made a perfect dodge and successfully avoided the area where the water spirit qi gathered the most. However, Qiao Yilan was not the existence of Lin Yuan's previous life, so he was not good at psychological games. When Lin Yuan made his move, he had already guessed that Qiao Yilan would dodge, so his original intention was not to use the water monarch and formless ice to forcefully control Qiao Yilan like how he dealt with the previous demonic beasts. Instead, he deliberately forced Qiao Yilan to dodge. At this moment, seeing that Qiao Yilan had already entered the area that he had predicted, Lin Yuan brazenly activated formless ice. Chapter 312. Ice Realm, Golden Spear Armored Horse. Lin Yuan's cold voice sounded. Qiao Yilan was slightly startled, and he felt a little uneasy. In the next moment, the water spiritual power gathered around Qiao Yilan instantly turned into pure ice spiritual power, and quickly materialized into knights made entirely of ice. These knights directly surrounded Qiao Yilan in the middle and began to attack again and again. Dual-type monster. Qiao Yilan's face stiffened. He spread out his hands, and a layer of blue water shield instantly wrapped around his body. Although the Ice Knight hit the seemingly weak water shield again and again, it only caused ripples to appear on it. Lin Yuan's attack did not succeed, and there was no trace of annoyance in his eyes, but Qiao Yilan was different. A single-type monster was already very difficult to deal with, and a dual-type monster was even more terrifying. At this moment, Lin Yuan just made a move, and no one knew how many killing moves Lin Yuan had in his hands. When the ice spiritual energy was exhausted, and the last Ice Knight collapsed, Qiao Yilan waved his hand and removed the water shield that wrapped around him. He slowly raised his right hand and pointed at Lin Yuan, and said in a deep voice, "It's my turn." The next moment, an incomparably thick water dragon spurted out from Qiao Yilan's palm. It opened its bloody mouth and let out a silent dragon roar, and directly bit at Lin Yuan, who was standing in the same place without moving at all. Humph, courting death. Seeing that Lin Yuan did not dodge, a cold light flashed in Qiao Yilan's eyes. Although his water dragon was only a mimicry, how could the means of a heaven realm expert be so simple? Qiao Yilan was sure that if Lin Yuan took his water dragon head-on, the best outcome would be a serious injury, and he might even lose the ability to fight directly. However, Qiao Yilan subconsciously frowned, vaguely feeling that something was wrong. Lin Yuan's name as Mad Python was widely spread, naturally not because he was arrogant and ignorant, but because Lin Yuan seemed to have nothing in his eyes that was worthy of his fear. However, in terms of fighting, Lin Yuan had reached an astonishing 100% win rate, which was not a result that an arrogant and ignorant person could achieve. After eliminating the possibility that the other party was underestimating him, Qiao Yilan's eyes narrowed. Could it be that Lin Yuan had the ability to easily take on his water dragon charge? The answer was revealed in an instant. Lin Yuan's azure blue vertical pupil lit up, and the special ability of the Monarch of Water was activated. It directly blocked the channel of communication between Qiao Yilan and the water spiritual energy. Thus, Qiao Yilan's control over the water dragon disappeared instantly. The water dragon that was still aggressive just a moment ago instantly collapsed in front of Lin Yuan's face, turning into a large pool of water that fell to the ground. How is this possible? Qiao Yilan stared blankly at the splashing water, astonishment written all over his face. He never thought that Lin Yuan actually had such a heaven-defying ability, to actually be able to cut off his channel of communication with the water spiritual energy in an instant. As a Heavenly Dipper realm powerhouse who majored in water techniques, after Lin Yuan displayed this unique skill, although it was not enough to directly cripple Qiao Yilan, it was at least 70% of his combat power. In fact, the Monarch of Water talent seemed to be heaven-defying, but in fact, it was not really that powerful. In the face of an existence that was lower than himself, Lin Yuan could casually deprive the other party of their water spiritual energy until he cancelled the talent or the other party left the range of his talent. However, in the face of a Heavenly Dipper realm existence like Qiao Yilan, Lin Yuan was far from being able to casually deprive the other party of their ability, but a little interference was not a big problem. Just like just now, when Qiao Yilan's attack was about to reach him, he directly activated his ability to make Qiao Yilan's attack ineffective. As long as Lin Yuan still had the energy to activate his talent, then in front of Lin Yuan, Qiao Yilan would still be a stinky little brother that was at his mercy. Of course, this was also because Lin Yuan and Qiao Yilan's realms were not that far apart. If it was a void realm cultivator who used their water ability, although Lin Yuan could still interfere with the other party, at most, it would cause some stagnation or awkwardness when the other party used their ability. Not to mention making the other party's attack ineffective, it was hard to say whether or not the other party could even dodge the attack. Wait. Lord Dragon King, if there's anything, I can. Before Qiao Yilan's voice fell, Lin Yuan had already started the next round of attacks. After all, Formless Ice and the Monarch of Water were both in cooldown. If he did not seize the opportunity to control the battle rhythm now, when Qiao Yilan realized that he could use the water spiritual energy again, the outcome of the battle would be uncertain. Void's Embrace. This skill evolved from Strangle. Although it was a physical attack, in a sense, it had already become an existence on the level of a causal skill. Almost at the same time that Lin Yuan used it, Lin Yuan's figure had already escaped into the elusive void. In an instant, Lin Yuan had already appeared behind Qiao Yilan, and his shrunken snake body directly wrapped around Qiao Yilan. This is bad. Almost all of the spectating Qiao family cultivators had expressions of horror on their faces. What was the most lethal attack for a python like Lin Yuan? Tail attacks, elements, venom, and the like were just icing on the cake. The real way to kill the enemy quickly and without giving the enemy a chance to resist was the strangle ability that snakes liked and were best at. Unless one's thwart cultivation technique had reached perfection, once entangled by a python, it was impossible to break free. This was why Void's Embrace was comparable to a causal skill in Lin Yuan's eyes. What kind of terrifying ability was it to appear behind the enemy and strangle them in an instant? If it wasn't for the short casting range of this skill, Lin Yuan dared to say that there was nothing in the world that could stop him from killing. After all, the distance between him and Xiao Yilin wasn't far. After a round of fighting, the distance between the two sides was estimated to be less than 20 meters. And this was already the limit of Void's Embrace's casting range. If Xiao Yilin just took a step back, he would be able to escape from Lin Yuan's attack range. Xiao Yilin took a deep breath, feeling the threat of death in his face. At this moment, Xiao Yilin's heart had even given up resisting. He directly closed his eyes and waited for death. But at the same time, Xiao Yilin suddenly felt that there seemed to be a layer of invisible shackles on his body. As time passed, this layer of shackles was constantly weakening. Just as Lin Yuan's snake body was about to wrap around him, Xiao Yilin instantly opened his eyes, and a look of surprise flashed in his eyes. Die! Lin Yuan's low voice suddenly sounded. The snake body changed into an O shape, and directly strangled him. Chapter 313. Bang! Xiao Yilin, who was originally in the bag, suddenly turned into a ball of water and was crushed by Lin Yuan. At this moment, the pale-faced Xiao Yilin suddenly appeared about 50 meters behind Lin Yuan. His chest was heaving up and down violently, and he was panting heavily. The ability to switch bodies was considered a very high-level technique in any cultivation system. Not only could it avoid the enemy's attack, but it could also seize the opportunity to counterattack. However, there were many prerequisites for this technique. Most cultivators would need to prepare for a period of time before they could use it. Of course, it wasn't impossible to use it instantaneously like Xiao Yilin, but the consumption would be very terrifying. It was so terrifying that even a Heaven Star Border Realm expert who was constantly absorbing the spiritual energy of heaven and earth would feel exhausted. Seeing that Xiao Yilin had successfully switched bodies, Lin Yuan's snake body stretched out again. A trace of a smile flashed across his eyes. "Ha, you have some skills. No wonder you are the head of the Qiao clan. However, this level is still far from surviving. Stop. Lord Dragon King, please excuse us for a moment. We can discuss anything." Seeing that Lin Yuan was eager to try, Xiao Yilin quickly raised a hand with fear in his eyes. Xiao Yilin was very clear that whether it was for that secret or for the implementation of the new decree, Lin Yuan would undoubtedly kill the Qiao clan. In the past, Xiao Yilin thought that as a direct descendant of the Qiao clan and the head of the Qiao clan, he could give up everything for the Qiao clan. However, at this moment, in the face of the threat of death, Xiao Yilin suddenly realized that he wasn't as loyal to the Qiao clan as he thought. He just liked the power that the Qiao clan brought him. Therefore, Xiao Yilin didn't have any psychological burden and directly planned to sell out the Qiao clan's interests in exchange for his own safety. Including the 2 Heaven Star Border Realm cultivators, all the Qiao clan cultivators were dumbfounded. There was even a trace of resentment in their puzzled eyes. After all, Lin Yuan killing Xiao Yilin was only a personal matter. However, if Xiao Yilin reached an agreement with Lin Yuan, the Qiao clan's interests might not be the only thing that would be betrayed. In the future, the Qiao clan might even be criticized by other clans and sects in other places. But his mentality was similar to Xiao Yilin's. The loyalty of these Qiao family cultivators to the Qiao family was far less than they had imagined. In the face of Lin Yuan's ability to defeat Xiao Yilin in an instant, they still chose to remain silent from the bottom of their hearts. Only when those pairs of blank eyes fell on Lin Yuan would there be slight ripples. Wasn't this demonic beast a little too strong? What do you think? Lin Yuan didn't make a move immediately, but he maintained his attacking posture and asked without turning his head. Although Lin Yuan did not turn his head around, Lei Fan still quickly realized that Lin Yuan was talking to him. After deliberating for a moment, Lei Fan nodded his head slightly and said in a deep voice, "I also feel that this matter can be discussed. Although I am disgusted by the actions of the Qiao family, but any living being would seek a sense of security when they are not feeling uneasy. This is also something to be expected. But I think that although the Qiao family knows some secrets, but they are not so foolish as to announce it to the public? Regarding the decree that Lin Yuan wanted to implement, although there were disagreements within the northern frontier king's palaces, they were all existences that had once been enemies with Lin Yuan. Although Lin Yuan was relying on the strength of the northern frontier king's palaces and the Demon Emperor's association, he could only be considered a second-rate force at best. Not to mention a super first-rate force like the Qiao family, even a first-rate force like the Freedom Yard would be able to thrash him. But looking at the northern frontier, there weren't many existences that dared to offend Lin Yuan. After all, this man could mobilize the Hengduan Mountains beast tide to attack the northern frontier cities with just a single word. To the northern frontier that had no city walls now, 1 or 2 beast tides might not be a big deal. But as time went by, there would be many such close combat battles. The human side's reproductive ability would be far inferior to the demonic beasts. When that time came, it would only be a matter of time before the northern frontier was destroyed. The deterrence of martial strength was one of the reasons. More importantly, Lin Yuan still controlled the Northern Territory Chamber of Commerce. Although it belonged to the Northern Frontier King's palaces in name, everyone knew that the phase and demonic beasts that the Northern Territory Chamber of Commerce sold came from Lin Yuan. Once Lin Yuan left the Northern Frontier, the Northern Territory Chamber of Commerce would only exist in name. They wouldn't have the guts to enter the Hengduan Mountains to obtain those things. The entire Northern Frontier's economy would be regressed by a few decades. Therefore, looking at the northern frontier, there weren't many people that dared to offend Lin Yuan. It could even be said that when Lin Yuan was willing to play with them within the rules, they were actually happy. Therefore, even if there were disagreements within the northern frontier king's palaces, no one dared to spread the news. After all, these forces' tolerance for Lin Yuan wasn't limitless. When they knew that Lin Yuan wanted to cut off their foundation and that they couldn't openly resist, they might even be crazy enough to directly assassinate Lin Yuan. The consequences of that weren't something that the northern frontier could bear. However, there would always be some lunatics who felt that since they were going to die, they might as well die together. Of course. Everyone, please take a seat at the Qiao residence. Qiao Yilin nodded and revealed a somewhat flattering smile. He even regretted his superfluous action. Although he had obtained the secret decree of the Northern Frontier King's palaces, the Northern Frontier King's palaces hadn't released it yet. Therefore, the bowstring hadn't been pulled taut and wouldn't break. The other forces wouldn't directly fall out with Lin Yuan, but the Qiao family, who already knew the secret, naturally became Lin Yuan's first target. Lifting a rock and smashing it on his own feet. Qiao Yilin felt that his previous actions couldn't be more apt to be described with this sentence. The group of Qiao family cultivators dared not speak out despite their anger. Because according to the information that the Qiao family had obtained, the guards of the northern frontier had already been prepared to move out when Lei Fan had arrived at the east of the city. Now that Lin Yuan's side had a righteous cause and Lei Fan had already made preparations before setting off, it wasn't something that the Qiao family alone could contend against. Hence, under Qiao Yilin's lead, Lin Yuan, Lei Fan, Luo Su, and Li Zhongxing walked towards the Qiao family's residence without the slightest scruple. They were not worried at all that the Qiao family had set up an ambush there, as if the Qiao family was not even worth mentioning. This kind of contemptuous action caused many of the Qiao family cultivators' faces to burn, but they didn't dare to fall out with them and could only follow obediently at the back of the group, gathering towards the Qiao residence. There were even many people who were eagerly anticipating that the two sides would come to blows because they couldn't come to an agreement. In any case, they didn't believe that after entering the residence that the Qiao family had operated for so many years, these four fellows would still be able to carve out a bloody path out of it unscathed. Chapter 314. At the same time. Outside the eastern boundary of the city. The beautiful woman, who was observing Lin Yuan's every move, frowned slightly. A hint of confusion flashed through her eyes, as if she couldn't understand what he was thinking. Her surname was Zhen, and she was born in the Zhen clan of the imperial capital. It was a merchant clan backed by the Grand Secretary. Although her strength wasn't at the peak, she was still considered a member of the upper class among the various powers in the imperial capital. Otherwise, she wouldn't have been able to so easily get in touch with the abandoned son of the Qiao clan. Moreover, she had followed Lord Zhangxiu's orders and told the abandoned son of the Qiao clan a secret about the northern frontier, which had led to a series of conflicts. Yes, the beautiful woman had long since known what would happen to the abandoned son of the Qiao clan after learning of this secret. Even the Qiao clan knew of this secret because someone she had arranged in her husband's caravan had accidentally leaked the news. Otherwise, the Qiao clan wouldn't have been so free as to detain the leader of a subordinate clan that they had personally supported. As for the conflict between Lin Yuan and the Qiao clan, it was also within her expectations. Even if Lin Yuan didn't rely on the power of faith to cultivate, as the official god of the northern frontier, Lin Yuan wouldn't miss any opportunity to recruit believers, even if it was just for the sake of looking good. Thus, after putting on a show, she directly went to the Blackwater Dragon King Temple and contacted Lin Yuan, all for the sake of luring Lin Yuan into her trap. In addition, the reason the Qiao clan's spy could accidentally come into contact with the secret information of the Northern Frontier Prince's mansion was also because of the embroidered guard's manipulation. The embroidered guard was also involved in the discovery of the identity of the Qiao clan's spy in the Northern Frontier Prince's mansion. Their goal was to make the Qiao clan and the Northern Frontier Prince's mansion become enemies. From beginning to end, this was a scheme set up by the embroidered guard under Zhang Xiu's command. Moreover, it had started off exceptionally smoothly, with almost every step within the embroidered guard's control. Only at the most crucial step, when Lin Yuan faced Qiao Yilin, did the development of the situation suddenly deviate a little. Qiao Yilin was terrified. No one had expected that this person, who represented the Qiao clan's highest authority and the Qiao clan's interests, would be beaten into submission by Lin Yuan in a single exchange. As a result, the embroidered uniform guard's follow-up plans had completely collapsed. They had to come up with a new plan to deal with what would happen next. Thinking of this, the beautiful woman secretly spat. Her feet moved a few steps and quietly disappeared into the crowd. However, the beautiful woman did not notice that before she left the surveillance station, 3 pairs of emotionless eyes had been fixed on her for a long time. One of them was the criminal Xia Xiu who had been recruited by Lin Yuan, another was the dark shadow walker who was always by Lei Fan's side, and the last was the sword dancer who was always by Su Nan's side. For 3 top-class assassins who were proficient in assassination to have their eyes on the same person at the same time, it was clear that Lin Yuan was wary of this beautiful lady. On the other side, in the Qiao clan's residence, Qiao Yilin, who had dismissed the crowd of cultivators, led his 2 Heavenly Dipper realm brothers to the guest hall and sat down. There was no longer the fawning expression on his face, and it was as cold as a piece of ice that would never melt. Only when his gaze was fixed on Lin Yuan would there be a slight ripple in his eyes. Although every move he had made before was an act, the exchange between him and Lin Yuan was not fake. Both sides were intentionally flexing their muscles. Therefore, Qiao Yilin believed that once the 2 sides really started fighting, Lin Yuan really had the strength to kill him. This made him feel terrified in his heart, and his face grew colder and colder, not daring to show his true feelings. The 5 of them sat down, and Lin Yuan also coiled up his snake body. He smiled and said, "I'll have to trouble the Qiao clan's patriarch to put on a show with us." After all, the embroidered guard was an old power of the Shenwu dynasty, an existence comparable to the sword dancer and the shadow walker. Although the Demon Emperor society was powerful in the northern frontier, its foundation was still shallow. Naturally, it was impossible for it to completely remove the embroidered guard's spies. Therefore, the embroidered guard would make a comeback sooner or later. This had always been within Lin Yuan's expectations. However, Lin Yuan did not expect that the embroidered guard would make such a vicious move this time. It was as if they had directly caused the northern frontier's prince's residents to shed all pretense of cordiality with the Qiao clan. They had even made Lin Yuan an enemy of the various forces in the northern frontier. Unfortunately, the embroidered guard had chosen the wrong opponent in the end. Although the northern frontier looked the same as before, a large net had been set up in the dark. From the officials of the city lord's residence to the peddlers and coachmen, almost everyone had Lin Yuan's informants. Some of the embroidered guard spies might have thought that their whereabouts were hidden, but their every move had been exposed to Lin Yuan's eyes long ago. Lin Yuan naturally had to be on guard against an existence like the beautiful woman who had taken the initiative to come to him with a secret. Therefore, after she left the Dragon King's temple, Lin Yuan immediately contacted Sherdong, the person in charge of the Demon Emperor Society in Shunning City, and began to follow the beautiful woman's trail. As expected, he discovered that this woman had made contact with a few people who were suspected to be members of the Embroidered Guard. Not only did she confirm the identities of these Embroidered Guard members, she also made it clear that there was something wrong with her. Therefore, Lin Yuan very naturally completed the prelude according to her script. When the matter reached the critical point, he privately communicated with Qiao Yilin, which led to the scene outside. Of course, although Qiao Yilin was cooperating with Lin Yuan, after the battle, he was indeed afraid of Lin Yuan. Otherwise, he would not have publicly humiliated himself. Lord Dragon King, our next step is, a cold glint flashed in Qiao Yilin's eyes. In the past, when the Qiao family was glorious in the northern frontier, even Lei Qiusheng had to be courteous when he personally came to the northern frontier. A mere embroidered guard actually dared to use the Qiao family as a chess piece. Wait. Lin Yuan closed his eyes and said casually. Then, without waiting for the others to speak again, he added, "We have disrupted the Embroidered Guard's original plan, so they will panic. Moreover, they will quickly formulate a new plan to make up for their mistake. We may not be a match for the Embroidered Guard if we play such underhanded tricks. Therefore, we must make use of our powerful advantage in the northern frontier and wipe them out when they reveal a flaw. That is what we should do." Now, the Embroidered Guard only had two choices. The first was to make that secret public. This way, Lin Yuan and the Qiao family would have to speed up their pace and reap the benefits before the other factions could react. After all, the Qiao family couldn't back down when they were just one step away from the door, right? The other choice was to make Lin Yuan's unannounced decree public. At that time, not only would the Qiao family become Lin Yuan's enemy, but all the factions in the northern frontier wouldn't let this matter rest. If they didn't choose either of these two paths, then the Embroidered Guard could only choose to give up on the northern frontier and quickly retreat. Chapter 315. Both options posed a great threat to Lin Yuan. At the same time, they were the only two options the Embroidered Uniform Guard could choose to take action while hiding in the dark. However, from the ruler's position, the Embroidered Uniform Guard was more likely to choose the first option. After all, Lei Qiusheng wasn't some incompetent emperor. On the contrary, Lei Qiusheng, who had a strong desire to control power, would never give up on this decree that would greatly harm the various aristocratic families and sections. The northern frontier just so happened to be one of the test subjects. Therefore, the Embroidered Uniform Guard that belonged to the Shenwu dynasty wouldn't choose to announce Lin Yuan's decree at this time unless they were mentally retarded. This would cause Lei Qiusheng to be dissatisfied, and at the same time, it would arouse the vigilance of the various factions. If they wanted to do something similar in the future, it would take twice the effort for half the result. Of course, anything was possible. After all, Zhang Xiu, who they had only heard of but hadn't seen, hadn't come to the northern frontier yet. Therefore, it was hard to say who the person in charge of this operation would be. It was also unknown how intelligent the other party was. What they were afraid of was that Zhang Xiu had been commanding from afar the entire time, while Lin Yuan had set up a counterattack. Although it wouldn't be enough to make the other party throw away their armor, it wouldn't be a problem to a certain degree. When the time came, Zhang Xiu would be separated from the Embroidered Uniform Guard in the northern frontier. It was possible that the Embroidered Uniform Guard in the northern frontier would make any kind of decision. Unfortunately, the Embroidered Uniform Guard had chosen the wrong opponent in the end. Although the northern frontier wasn't small, there weren't many people moving around. Only a few merchants would come to the northern frontier to purchase various phase and demon beast materials. Not everyone had the courage to live under the same roof as the demon beasts. Therefore, after Lin Yuan ruled the northern frontier, anyone who moved to the northern frontier was under the surveillance of the Demon Emperor Association. Therefore, the Embroidered Uniform Guard's little tricks couldn't be hidden from Lin Yuan. In addition, when the Embroidered Uniform Guard was choosing a target, they shouldn't have chosen the Qiao clan. The development of the situation had been going according to the embroidered uniform guard's plan. However, Lin Yuan had taken the opportunity to communicate with Xiao Yilin during the fight, so the matter wouldn't be out of the embroidered uniform guard's control. One reason why Xiao Yilin was that he wasn't a match for Lin. Another reason was that the Qiao clan had the ability to investigate the embroidered uniform guard. Lord Dragon King, although our two clans are cooperating now, there are some things that I still have to ask clearly. Xiao Yilin stroked his beard and said in a deep voice, although the embroidered uniform guard is involved in this matter, the decree should have come from you, right? I just want to ask clearly. Do you really want the Northern Frontier's aristocratic families and sects to be destroyed? What if you do? Lin Yuan grinned, revealing a meaningful smile. After pondering for a moment, he replied with a question. Xiao Yilin took a deep breath and gently shook his head. He replied, I am not a match for the Dragon King. Even if the Qiao clan can stop the Dragon King for a while, it won't be able to stop the Dragon King forever. If the Dragon King insists on doing this, I hope that on account of the Qiao clan's willingness to cooperate with the Dragon King, you will give the Qiao clan a way out. Even if that doesn't work, please allow the Qiao clan to move out of the northern frontier. Pfft, Lin Yuan suddenly sneered. His eyes suddenly became deep as he said indifferently, Patriarch Qiao, if you were the ruler of the northern frontier, would you wish for other voices to exist in your territory? If you had the chance, would you choose to coexist with these powers that could shake your rule at any time, or would you choose to eradicate them? This, Xiao Yilin narrowed his eyes slightly. For a moment, he didn't know how to respond. If he were the ruler of the northern frontier and had the right opportunity, of course he would eradicate these powers. But the problem was that the northern frontier wasn't under the Qiao clan's rule, but his Qiao clan was one of these powers. The so-called aristocratic families and sects, in my opinion, are all the same. They are nothing more than a group of people who formed a group for some benefits. Whether these people originally did it for benefits or for righteousness, in essence, they are powers that have jumped out of the control of the northern frontier's ruler. Their combined power can even easily replace the ruler of the northern frontier. Therefore, they are existences that no ruler can tolerate. But then again, no matter when, aristocratic families and sects are bound to appear. For example, among the 7 castellans of the northern frontier, except for the Hu clan that has been guarding Shunning City for generations, the other 6 castellans were transferred from the Shenwu dynasty. In the local area, except for relying on the strength of the local garrison, they have almost no deterrence to speak of. Nominally, they are castellans, but in reality, they are restrained by aristocratic families and sects everywhere. Under my rule, their status hasn't changed much, but in 10 years, or 100 years, they will become the new aristocratic families of the northern frontier. Therefore, my intention has never been to annihilate powers like the aristocratic families and sections. I only hope to bring these powers under my control, and at the same time, set a new set of rules to unify these powers in a circle. If they are willing to abide by the rules, then they can naturally continue to exist. But if they want to challenge the rules, then they must suffer my endless fury. Lin Yuan's voice was very soft, but in Xiao Yilin's ears, it was like a clap of thunder. After all, ordinary people joined sects to cultivate, but the Northern Frontier Academy set up by Lin Yuan could perfectly achieve this. Once enrolled, they would be students. Although the treatment was different according to the aptitude, at least some of the chores would be done by the ordinary staff hired by the academy. It was not like ordinary sects, where disciples were nominally disciples, but in reality, they were handymen, and all the dirty and tiring work was thrown to the grassroots disciples who had no background to speak of. But it was absolutely impossible for aristocratic families to be abolished. Today's 7 castellans, and even some of the generals of the Northern Frontier Guard Corps, would become the new aristocratic families of the Northern Frontier in 10 years, or a few decades. If Lin Yuan wanted to abolish aristocratic families, it meant that he would become the enemy of everyone. After all, who didn't shed their blood to achieve meritorious deeds and protect their descendants? Understood. Xiao Yilin stood up and said in a deep voice, Lord Dragon King, the Qiao family is willing to donate all the land under our name to the Northern Frontier Prince's mansion. In addition, I will also arrange for people to make copies of the cultivation manuals in the Qiao family storage. When the Northern Frontier Academy is officially established, it will be sent over. To be able to become the head of a superclass power like the Qiao family, Qiao Yilan's mind was undoubtedly very flexible. After understanding Lin Yuan's future plans, he quickly figured out how to protect the Qiao family. Buying the 380th monthly ticket. Chapter 316. Qiao Yilan was very clear that his words and actions today would cause the Qiao family to suffer a huge blow, to the point that they would fall out of the ranks of the superpowers. From a great family outside the Northern Frontier Prince's mansion to a great family under the control of the Northern Frontier Prince's mansion. Just thinking about it would cause countless Qiao family disciples to feel dissatisfied. But Qiao Yilan did not regret his words and actions in the slightest. After all, the Qiao family had been passed down for close to 1,000 years. Outsiders might think that the Qiao family was stubborn and obstinate, abiding by the old traditions, but in reality, that was not the case. Every era had its own rules, and those who could not accept the new rules would undoubtedly be eliminated by the new era. Now that Lin Yuan had appeared, it was the prelude to the new era. Don't look at how Lin Yuan could only influence the northern frontier now. But given enough time, the entire Sky Martial continent would be under his control. Qiao Yilan's heart was as clear as a mirror. If he chose to suffer some losses now and accept the new order brought by Lin Yuan, then the Qiao family would be able to continue on. After a few hundred years, the situation might change, and the Qiao family would be able to easily take back what was rightfully theirs. And even if the situation did not change, the Qiao family would still continue to exist, and they could patiently wait for the opportunity to come. And if Qiao Yilan chose to be conservative, and felt that Lin Yuan's plan would be nipped in the bud, then he could already start preparing his will. Just like what Lin Yuan had said earlier, the Qiao family would have a new leader, and if the new leader was not willing to cooperate with Lin Yuan, then the Qiao family might not even exist anymore. You are a promising child. Lin Yuan nodded his head in satisfaction. Although he was not surprised by Qiao Yilan's choice, but before communicating with Qiao Yilan, Lin Yuan had indeed made plans to eradicate the Qiao family. It was just that he needed time to prepare. Now that the Qiao family had tactfully chosen to admit defeat, then it was better to save some effort. Even Lei Fan's eyes revealed a look of surprise. After all, in the entire northern frontier, the most difficult family to deal with was the Qiao family. Now that even the Qiao family had surrendered without a fight, if the remaining families wanted to resist, they would have to consider whether they could withstand the wrath of the Northern Frontier Prince's mansion. As for the sects, there was bound to be a battle between the two parties. Although Lin Yuan and Lei Fan did not object to the various sects coming to the northern frontier to set up dojos to impart their cultivation techniques, it was not a problem for them to open dojos and accept disciples. However, using the name of opening dojos and accepting disciples as an excuse to annex the land would be touching Lei Fan and Lin Yuan's reverse scale. While they were talking, Xia Xiu walked out of the void and said in a deep voice, "Demon Emperor, just as you expected, the woman surnamed Jin immediately met with several people with high status in the embroidered guard after you and Master Qiao began to negotiate peace. Before we could find out what they were plotting, a piece of news began to spread among the cultivators in Shunning City." Oh. Lin Yuan raised his eyelids slightly and pretended to be surprised. Although he did not know what the beautiful woman had not told him about the secret, but from the reaction of the Qiao family, the profit this secret could bring was definitely not low. Otherwise, Qiao Yilan would not have been schemed against by the embroidered guard. 14,000 miles to the east of Shunning City, there is a mirror-like lake in the demonic beast forest. It covers an area of about 500 meters, but once you go deep into the lake, you will find that there is another world inside. Dive down for about 3,000 meters, and you will enter an underwater world. There are countless demonic beasts of the Water Clan, but there are also countless spiritual objects of the Water Clan. Moreover, these spiritual objects are not young, and you can casually bring them back and make a fortune. Xia Xiu continued expressionlessly. In addition, as if to prove what I said, several valuable water spirit objects have already appeared in the black market of Shunning City. Because the other party rented our stall in the black market to trade, the black market has no right to detain them. Ever since Lin Yuan ruled the northern frontier, he had also made great efforts to reform the black market. In the past, the black market could be said to be a mix of crooks and honest people. The low-level cultivators were all mortal evolution states who wanted to broaden their horizons, and the high-level cultivators who wanted to try their luck and see if there were any good treasures. As a place that could attract void nether state cultivators, it went without saying what kind of treasures could be brought out. However, while the black market had a large number of transactions, the security was not outstanding. It was not uncommon for people to fight over a few treasures and even affect the order of the black market. There were even cases of buyers robbing the vendors because they could not afford the price. In short, it was a mess. If one did not have a certain level of strength, not many people would dare to trade in the black market. After all, the probability of being killed and robbed was too high. There were even some unscrupulous shops that would kill the buyer after selling the item. The next day, they would hang the treasure in the shop again and wait for the next unlucky person. After Lin Yuan took over Shunning City, he made drastic changes to the black market. Some unscrupulous shop owners were directly killed by Lin Yuan on the spot, and their corpses were hung on the city wall to warn others. He also set up security in the black market. Anyone who wanted to cause trouble in the black market would have to consider if they had the power. Even if they had the power, they would not be nameless people. Lin Yuan would personally take revenge on the other party after the matter was over. Although the black market was still called the black market, there was a new order and a safe trading environment. No matter who wanted to sell items in the black market, they would have to register their identity in the Northern Frontier Prince's mansion and then get a number plate to set up their stall in the black market. If the Northern Frontier Prince's mansion approved it, then even if Lei Fan came personally, he would not be able to interfere with the other party's trade. That's interesting. A cold glint flashed across Lei Fan's eyes as he frowned and said, if that's the case, then the news released by the embroidered uniform guard might not be true. According to what I know, the embroidered uniform guard has quite a number of valuable spiritual items in their storage. If they want to set up a trap to deceive us, they would just have to spend a little money. But those who believe in this secret might have to pay with their lives. As his voice fell, Qiao Yilan's face immediately turned a little unnatural. He had not thought that this whole matter was a trap set up by the embroidered uniform guard from the beginning to the end. And as a water attribute cultivation technique cultivator, he had not hesitated to fall out with Lin Yuan for the sake of those precious water attribute spiritual items. But now, it seemed that even this secret might be fake. The embroidered uniform guard had completely played him for a fool. No, this secret should be real. A serious look flashed across Lin Yuan's eyes as he said in a deep voice, although creating something out of nothing is tempting, but if you want to set up a killing trap, you still have to see it with your own eyes. Chapter 317. As the saying went, seeing is believing didn't mean that just showing a few water-type spiritual items was enough. Once this secret was spread, it would undoubtedly attract many people to investigate. However, there were too many false rumors in the Tianwu continent. So, even those who didn't like to use their brains wouldn't rashly start a fight with cultivators who had the same goal as them before confirming the truth of the rumor. If they wanted to turn the entire situation into a killing trap, then even if the embroidered uniform guard had to set it up themselves, they had to create a true secret realm. If the embroidered uniform guard had been at their peak, it wouldn't have been much of a problem for them to create such a secret realm. However, the entire Northern Frontier's underworld was now under the control of the Demon Emperor Association. The embroidered uniform guard spies had been wiped out one batch after another before they barely managed to survive. So, unless this secret realm had been set up long ago, it should be true. Then what should we do? Qiao Yilan raised his eyebrows and asked subconsciously. He was still very concerned about this secret realm. Previously, he had even gone as far as to fall out with Lin Yuan. Now that the embroidered uniform guard had leaked this secret, there would definitely be many cultivators who would return to explore it. If Lin Yuan hadn't expressed his desire to take this secret realm, then he wouldn't have minded using the Qiao family's power. However, he still had to act according to Lin Yuan's mood. Of course we'll spread the news with them. A faint smile flashed through Lin Yuan's eyes. He sneered, didn't the embroidered uniform guard say that this is a secret realm with countless priceless spiritual items? I don't think that's the right way to put it. Lei Fan, find someone to spread the rumor as well. Just say that the lake is the burial ground of a fallen dragon, and not only are there valuable water attribute spirit objects there might even be the blood essence of a dragon. The 6 people in the reception room looked at each other. Did this guy think that this wasn't big enough? But in next to no time, Qiao Yilin understood Lin Yuan's intentions. After all of this had been a scheme planned by the embroidered guard since the beginning, so it was naturally impossible for them to just hand over the secret realm. So, the embroidered guard would definitely organize a large number of people to enter the secret realm to search for treasures. On the other hand, Lin Yuan's actions were for the sake of attracting even more independent cultivators to the secret realm, and he was waiting for both sides to fight over the treasures beneath the lake. As for whether or not they would accidentally injure Lin Yuan's people, this was naturally not within Lin Yuan's consideration. The men from the Northern Frontier Prince's mansion had sealed off the entire region. After all, the Northern Frontier Prince's mansion was in a cooperative relationship with the demonic beasts of the Hengduan Mountains. The other cultivation forces would have to sneak their way into the lake. However, Lei Fan had no such qualms. As long as his men did not step foot into the Hengduan Mountains, the demonic beasts would not bother him. When the time came, those cultivators who had entered the lake would have to risk their lives to come out of the secret realm. Whether or not they could bring away the treasures, and how many treasures they could bring away, would all depend on Lei Fan's mood. As for the matter of screening the members of the embroidered guard, it was even simpler. Although the independent cultivators were a little more relaxed, they would still join forces against the various aristocratic families and sects to deal with existences that they normally did not dare to provoke. So, once the members of the embroidered guard entered the secret realm, they would naturally choose to group up or mingle with the independent cultivators. However, they would definitely come into contact with each other. According to the list of names that the Council of the Demon Emperor had, Lin Yuan believed that he would be able to ferret out the remaining forces of the embroidered guard in the northern frontier very quickly. Time trickled by. In the blink of an eye, another 2 days had passed. After Lin Yuan's group left the Qiao clan, they had been holed up in Shunning City, not taking even half a step outside. The Qiao clan did not have any unusual reaction either. This left the members of the embroidered guard helpless. After all, their opponents had left them with no openings at all. However, recently, the news that they had spread out in the various cultivators' gathering places had actually become even more explosive. For example, the secret realm was the burial ground of an ancient dragon clan, and there might be dragon clan blood essence and other treasures of heaven and earth inside. If that was all, it would be fine. However, there were actually people who said that the secret realm had a young ancient dragon clan left behind. If they were lucky enough to encounter it, they could tame it as a pet and raise it to be a great fighting force. This secret realm was discovered by the embroidered guard. Although time was short, the embroidered guard did not completely investigate it. It was hard to say whether this underwater secret realm had anything to do with the ancient dragon clan, but they were certain that there was absolutely no young ancient dragon clan in the secret realm. There wasn't even a dragon bloodline demon beast. At the same time, in the southern district of the city, in a tea house called Coiled Incense, the woman surnamed Jean rested her chin on her right hand and gazed deeply at the street outside the window. She muttered, "Something's not right. The Black Snake clan might already know about our plan." Recently, there has been a lot of rumors. Perhaps the Black Snake clan deliberately released it through the Demon Emperor Association. Their goal is to attract powerful cultivators to compete with us for the secret realm. At this moment, she finally understood what it meant to shoot oneself in the foot. At the very beginning, they were the ones who released the news. Their goal was to give the Black Snake clan a sense of urgency and force them to explore the secret realm with the Qiao clan. As long as these two forces entered the secret realm at the same time, there was a possibility that they would fight over the various spiritual items in the secret realm. In the end, not only did the Black Snake clan not feel any urgency, they even spread the news with them. In fact, they were even more exaggerated than them. It was as if they were afraid that they wouldn't be able to attract powerful characters. And now, the Black Snake clan and the Qiao clan still had no intention of setting off. It was as if they had already given up on this secret realm. However, while the Black Snake clan and the Qiao clan could do this, the Northern Frontier Embroidered Uniform Guard couldn't. This was because they were the ones who discovered this secret realm. Originally, they only planned to use it to set up a trap. Then, while both sides were still preparing, they would directly take away the wealth in the secret realm, making the Black Snake clan and Xiao Yilan's efforts go in vain. When the time came, the possibility of both sides attacking each other in anger would sharply increase. However, the wealth in the secret realm belonged to the Embroidered Uniform Guard. Even if they didn't have the opportunity now, they still had to bring the wealth out and wait for a certain Embroidered Uniform Guard to count it. Therefore, if they wanted to give up this secret realm, it was equivalent to them taking out wealth equivalent to the spiritual items they had reported to the Embroidered Uniform Guard to fill the gap. In other words, even if they wanted to run now, they couldn't afford to. Even if they knew that Lin Yuan had already dug a big hole for them in the secret realm, they could only pinch their noses and jump in. Let's set off. If we're late, others might really take advantage of us. The woman surnamed Jin sighed faintly. She was the first to stand up and walk out of the tea house, walking towards the city gate. Chapter 318. At dusk. Outside the secret realm. Lin Yuan's gaze swept across the lake that had been blown to the heavens, and there was not the slightest ripple in his eyes. He had to go down and take a look at this secret realm. Although he was now stuck at a bottleneck and had to wait until he completely transformed into a flood dragon before he could continue to level up, even if he could not use the water-type phase in the secret realm, it would not be a problem for him to temporarily store them. Lin Yuan did not really believe in the vision of these cultivators. After all, when the people from the northern frontier entered the Hengduan mountain range to collect phase, they had vividly demonstrated this point. Some of the rare, valuable, and powerful phase were not recognized by them. Even if they were close at hand, they were too lazy to pick them, or they did not know how to pick them at all. Not only did they not obtain the phase, but they also damaged the phase. Among these cultivators that had gathered, there were almost no existences that could catch Lin Yuan's attention, except for the leaders of the various large families and sections. Therefore, Lin Yuan still decided to go down and take a look personally so that he would not miss out on any precious treasures. Although the mission was not completed and could even be said to have failed, Lin Yuan still figured out what the Joss Flame model subfunction conversion was. Strictly speaking, it was an existence that belonged to the causal series like his blood sacrifice wishing art. However, Lin Yuan's blood sacrifice wishing art was too random, and the result was almost uncontrollable. For example, if Lin Yuan wished to directly fill up his flood dragon transformation progress bar, it might be enough to sacrifice a little blood, or it might not be enough even if he sacrificed the entire northern frontier. These were all unknown variables of this skill. If he wanted to achieve his goal, he had to do his best. Once the price was too high, he could only blame himself for being unlucky. What was even more frightening was that he had done his best, but the final result was still failure. However, conversion was different. It used the power of Joss Flames as a price to fulfill Lin Yuan's wish. Once Lin Yuan unlocked the conversion function, when he wished to fill up his flood dragon transformation progress bar, the conversion function would directly tell Lin Yuan how much Joss Flames he needed to achieve this. Based on the effects alone, the conversion was definitely superior, but Lin Yuan didn't think so. Firstly, the conversion function has great restrictions. Lin Yuan can only use it near his Blackwater Dragon King temple, otherwise it will attract natural disasters. Calling it a natural disaster was a bit inappropriate. It was probably a failure to cast a spell and he would be struck by lightning. In addition, the conversion price was fixed. This was a very inflexible point for Lin Yuan. For example, Lin Yuan might have to sacrifice a lot of blood to summon a rainstorm, but now, Lin Yuan only needed to sacrifice 1 or 2 drops of blood to summon a rainstorm. However, the conversion sub-function was different. For example, it was still summoning a rainstorm. Lin Yuan now had to pay a full 100 points of incense power to do so. In the future, even if Lin Yuan stepped into the desolate demon realm or even higher, he would also have to pay 100 points of incense power to summon this rainstorm. As time passed, the cultivators from the various aristocratic families and sects finally all arrived. There was also a large group of idle cultivators huddled in the camp to the side, busying themselves with their own matters. Between cultivators of different backgrounds, there was actually a chain of contempt. Just like how cultivators with imperial backgrounds looked down on the disciples of aristocratic families, and these disciples of aristocratic families looked down on those who came from sections. As for the scattered cultivators who gathered together, they didn't plan to enter the water at all. They knew very well that in the chain of contempt, they were undoubtedly the lowest existences. Now that the master of the northern frontier, the Dragon King, had appeared, if anyone dared to overestimate themselves and try to take the lead before Lin Yuan entered the water, what awaited them would definitely be a concentrated attack from various factions. However, in addition to the respectful and envious gazes, Lin Yuan also keenly sensed that there were many gazes filled with hatred in the crowd. They should be the secret agents of the embroidered guard. However, these people's expressions were very well controlled. When they saw Lin Yuan looking over, they began to whistle and look up at the sky, as if they weren't the ones who wanted to tear a piece of flesh off Lin Yuan's body with their gazes. Splash! Lin Yuan didn't waste too much time and directly dove into the lake. In any case, the water was his home ground. Even if the embroidered guard sent out a Heaven Dipper realm existence, it wouldn't be easy to deal with him underwater. This was why Lin Yuan dared to enter the water alone. As Lin Yuan made his move, the cultivators present also impatiently jumped into the water. However, they still maintained some restraint. The first to enter the water were the cultivators from the various aristocratic families and sections. It was as if the scattered cultivators weren't the slightest bit interested in the spirit items in the secret realm. It wasn't until the last cultivator with a background jumped into the water that the scattered cultivators began to move. A large group of embroidered guard members mixed in with the scattered cultivators looked at the calm surface of the water, speechless. They hadn't even entered the water yet. If you can earn merit points, you have to be alive to spend them. The embroidered uniform guards operation team had to come up with a reasonable plan based on the approximate value and distribution of water-type spirit items from the previous exploration of the secret realm. They would try their best to collect as many spirit items as possible. But this task wasn't easy. If they could be easily dealt with the secret realms, they would not have waited. If they could their best, to collect the spirit items in the secret realm. With S's, S, B, and teams's. After all, it was easy to enter a secret realm with a special environment like this, but difficult to leave. If one didn't have the ability, they didn't even have the qualifications to watch the show. Apart from those reckless fellows, almost all the cultivators they encountered were existences that could threaten the embroidered uniform guards' treasure hunting team. The operation team had fewer members and was led by the woman surnamed Zhen. They didn't need to be responsible for collecting spirit items, but they needed to support the treasure hunting team. Once they discovered that their own people were fighting with wandering cultivators or aquatic monsters, they had to consider whether to head elsewhere or quickly provide support. After all, the secret realm was quite large. Wasting time on unnecessary matters might not make up for the losses. Now that they had encountered the black snake, the operation team members felt that the responsibility on their shoulders had clearly increased. It was very clear that the black snake hadn't appeared here to greet them in a friendly manner. After entering the secret realm, not only would they have to think of a way to deal with the cultivators who were trying to steal the treasures, they would also have to be on guard against the black snake that might appear out of nowhere and attack them. At this time, Lin Yuan, who had just met the members of the embroidered uniform guard, was moving through the water with an expressionless face. This body of water was quite strange. On the surface, it only had an area of 500 square kilometers, but when one entered the water, one would discover that this was a convex terrain. After diving for 500 or 600 meters, Lin Yuan could no longer see the surrounding rock walls. He was still far from reaching the bottom of the lake. To be more precise, he hadn't even passed through the shallow waters. However, this was the most terrifying part. Lin Yuan's cultivation was at the peak of the 10th level of the wisdom realm. His physical body was incomparably strong after cultivating the golden body technique and possessing the flood dragon scale armor. However, in this 500 or 600 meter deep body of water, Lin Yuan still felt the water pressure pressing against his muscles. This was also because he was a water-type monster, which had a high resistance to water pressure underwater. I can only enter the secret realm after diving 3,000 meters? Whoa! Lin Yuan was a little shocked. The person who had set up this secret realm was so extravagant. The water pressure alone was enough to eliminate those who tried to enter the secret realm to take advantage of the situation. Without one or two tricks up their sleeves, ordinary cultivators at the first or second level of the airborne realm would have reached the limit of 500 or 600 meters deep in this body of water. There might indeed be many priceless treasures in the secret realm, but it was clear that the person who had set up the secret realm didn't intend to let ordinary people and mediocre people get their hands on their things. This time, because of the rumors, there might be 7,000 or 8,000 people who came to the secret realm to look for treasures. However, in the end, less than 1 in 10 would be able to enter the secret realm. The remaining type of people should be water-type cultivators, making up the majority. Lin Yuan felt that if he were to be robbed of good treasures in this kind of environment, and with the innate ability of the water monarch, he might as well just find a place and kill himself. There was no need to come out and embarrass himself. Lin Yuan began to dive once again with that thought in mind. His speed was close to 10 times faster than the cultivators around him. After all, although the water pressure was there, it was far from enough to threaten Lin Yuan. With his speed, he would have no problem diving 3,000 meters down. Unless this secret realm was impossible to enter at all, and the water pressure below was enough to squeeze a peak wisdom realm monster like him to death. However, if that was the case, there was no way to explain how the embroidered guard had explored this secret realm. Moreover, among the members of the embroidered guard, there were only a few heaven realm cultivators. The rest were basically at the 8th or 9th level of the airborne realm. In any force, they would only be regarded as a mainstay. Chapter 320. Finally, he reached the bottom of the lake after sneaking for 3,000 meters. Lin Yuan stretched his snake body, gradually expelling the discomfort caused by the increasing water pressure. His body returned to its peak state, and only then did he let out a long sigh. Along the way, Lin Yuan not only saw a lot of cultivators who were still trying to dive down, but he also saw some cultivators who began to float up with sad faces. For such people, their lack of strength would always be the biggest failure. If they lacked strength, they needed spiritual items to make up for it. If they did not have enough strength, they could only miss out on such a secret realm. As such, the spiritual items in the secret realm had nothing to do with them, which almost became an endless cycle. As such, the truly powerful cultivators were either extremely talented or had extremely wealthy forces behind them. Grassroots cultivators could only eat the leftovers of others. They had to become stepping stones for others to prove themselves. Lin Yuan built the academy on the northern frontier with the purpose of fostering such grassroots cultivators. That was because he did not want the forces he built in the future to still have countless voices, big and small. As such, if things like clans and sects did not follow Lin Yuan's rules, they could only be wiped out. The history books in his previous life had already proved too much. When a dynasty was in its twilight years, the last straw that broke the camel's back would never be the foreign enemies and barbarians that were greatly exaggerated in the history books. Instead, it would be the aristocratic families that were born from the dynasty, who were growing stronger day by day and were not complacent. Lin Yuan saw that the eyes of those grassroots cultivators were sympathetic. There was no lack of good seedlings among those who were able to cultivate to the airborne realm as grassroots cultivators. However, at their age, they had obviously missed out on Lin Yuan's academy plan, and their fates would not change. Black Snake, Wild Python, Lord Dragon King. A series of shouts woke Lin Yuan from his thoughts. When Lin Yuan looked around, not only did he see a rift valley that was sealed by a huge rock, but he also saw some cultivators gathered in twos and threes. At that moment, their eyes fell on Lin Yuan. Their eyes were filled with fear, admiration, hatred, and all kinds of other emotions. Those who called him Black Snake were basically those who stood at the top of the northern frontier. They were the forces of various sects and clans. Ever since Lin Yuan took control of the northern frontier, the privileges of these sects and clans were wiped out one by Lin Yuan. In the past, when they spent in some of the more famous shops in the northern frontier, they could at least get a 30% or 20% discount by using the name of their sect. But now, all commercial activities in the northern frontier were under the control of the Northern Territory Chamber of Commerce. Not only did the disciples of these sects and clans lose their discounts, but whether or not they could buy what they wanted depended on Lin Yuan's mood. Other benefits were almost cut off. And those who called him Wild Python were basically the idle cultivators around the northern frontier. In the end, they had not experienced the fear of being controlled by Lin Yuan. They did not know how terrifying Lin Yuan's power was in the northern frontier. Therefore, they thought that Lin Yuan dared to take control of the northern frontier from the Shenwu dynasty purely because of the current situation. When the Shenwu dynasty took action in the future, Lin Yuan would definitely suffer the crazy revenge of the Shenwu dynasty. Therefore, they called Lin Yuan Wild Python, more or less, with a hint of contempt. As for those who called Lin Yuan Lord Dragon King, they were the disciples of various aristocratic families in the northern frontier. Almost all of them had shares in the Northern Territory Chamber of Commerce under Lin Yuan's control. Following Lin Yuan's series of operations to monopolize the spiritual items, almost all of these aristocratic families had eaten until their mouths were dripping with oil. Their respect for this anomaly, like Lin Yuan, was probably much higher than Hu Yan's. However, Lin Yuan did not care how others called him. In any case, it was just a code name. As long as they did not block his path, it was fine. Otherwise, Lin Yuan did not mind wasting some time to directly crush them into dregs. Why did you all stop here? Lin Yuan looked around and took the initiative to ask. A disciple of an aristocratic family stood up from his resting position and said in a deep voice, "The area we are in is already the bottom of this lake, and the real secret realm is under this rift valley. Right now, the rift valley is sealed by a huge rock. At a certain time, when the moonlight shines, the entrance to the secret realm will be activated and the huge rock will be pushed out. At that time, we will be able to enter the secret realm." Understood. Thank you. Lin Yuan nodded at the disciple of an aristocratic family. Then, he coiled his snake body under the water and rested. He originally thought that these cultivators were waiting for others to arrive because they could not get rid of the huge rock here. After all, those who could appear here at this time were practically the best among the treasure hunters. Otherwise, they would not have arrived here before Lin Yuan. However, from the looks of it, the existence of the huge rock should be part of some kind of mechanism. If they rashly destroyed the huge rock, they might even directly destroy the entrance to the secret realm. Thus, these people were afraid of taking action. As time passed, more and more cultivators gathered here. According to their respective factions, they gradually formed 4 small square formations: Foreign Cultivators, Northern Frontier Loose Cultivators, Northern Frontier Sects, Northern Frontier Aristocratic Families. As for the members of the Embroidered Guard who followed the woman surnamed Zhen, they very naturally blended in with the Foreign Cultivators. However, due to Lin Yuan's existence, they were very conservative and almost did not greet anyone. It was as if they were worried that Lin Yuan would be able to tell that they were spies of the Embroidered Guard from their words and actions. However, none of the cultivators from these 4 factions approached Lin Yuan. After all, Lin Yuan was a monster. Even if he had been conferred the title of God of the Northern Frontier, this fact could not be changed. Under these circumstances, perhaps even the fellow cultivators who were laughing and chatting a moment ago could become existences that could take their lives, let alone a monster. Boom! Inexplicably, a sudden clap of thunder erupted underwater. There were no dark clouds or torrential rain. Everyone looked on helplessly as a purple lightning python illuminated the gloomy depths of the water. The side of Lin Yuan's face was illuminated by the purple lightning. At this moment, Lin Yuan ended his nap and turned his head to look at the area where the lightning python was. His heterochromatic eyes reflected the lightning, as if two clusters of purple flames had ignited within them. Boom! Another clap of thunder. The purple lightning python struck the huge rock. Under everyone's gaze, the strange scene of lightning under the water slowly pushed the huge rock away. Soon, the door to the secret realm would open. However, the truly bitter battle had begun. It had already begun. Lin Yuan seemed to be taking a leisurely stroll as he wriggled his snake body and approached the trembling huge rock and the lightning python. No one treated him as a target to hunt. After all, the reputation of the black snake of the northern frontier was much more resounding than that of ordinary experts. Chapter 321. However, just because others did not treat Lin Yuan as prey did not mean that the scene was thriving. Almost at the same time that the boulder began to tremble, the cultivators present had already drawn their weapons and began to use their own methods to kill those unknown fellow cultivators. It seemed that they wanted to minimize the number of competitors before entering the secret realm. In fact, this was how it should be. This was because most of the cultivators present did not want to monopolize everything in the secret realm. Most of them were people who had been stuck in the airborne realm for a long time. The purpose of participating in the exploration of the secret realm this time was to find suitable spiritual items, then directly consume and refine them to help themselves break through the bottleneck. If this was not the case, when a secret realm opened in the northern frontier, and even Lin Yuan, the ruler, had come, the other cultivators would at most come to drink a mouthful of soup. How would they dare to choose to enter the secret realm on the same day as Lin Yuan? As soon as these cultivators found suitable spiritual items, they would immediately eat them. Why would they care whether or not others needed them? Formation. Lin Yuan heard the woman surnamed Zhen roar in the midst of the chaos. Looking around, Lin Yuan's eyes quickly flashed with a smile. These idle cultivators did not care about what kind of background they had. They did not even care about Lin Yuan and the others, let alone a group of foreign cultivators. Therefore, almost all the cultivators from the northern frontier began to encircle and kill the foreign cultivators. The thoughts of these northern frontier cultivators were very simple. Even if they did not get those spiritual items in the end, the secret realm in the northern frontier should be digested by the people of the northern frontier. It was not the turn of these foreign cultivators at all. The woman surnamed Zhen's roar was like a stabilizing needle. Of course, the quality of the embroidered uniform guards was also there. After being caught off guard at the beginning, the members of the embroidered uniform guards quickly broke away from the current battle. One by one, they took out the cannons at their waists and gathered together. Next, the woman surnamed Zhen did not need to command them anymore. The cannons in their hands roared, and a fiery red barrage instantly shattered the water and swept toward the cultivators who were still fighting. Some of the cultivators were blown up on the spot by the powerful cannons. There were also some cultivators who jumped out of the battlefield that was harvesting human lives. There was a bit of fear in their eyes. No one would have thought that there was an organized force among these foreign cultivators. Everyone was equipped with hand cannons that could shoot underwater. Such a force could no longer be from one side. These people were obviously the elite forces under the Shenwu dynasty. Not bad. Lin Yuan nodded inwardly. Although the cannons of this world seemed to be backward, their power was even more terrifying than those in his previous world. A single point of fire was not enough to make people feel apprehensive. However, when these people formed a formation and shot out a barrage of bullets, even Lin Yuan himself had to temporarily avoid the spearhead. Bang! A dull sound of collision rang out. A member of the embroidered uniform guard directly fell to the ground. With Lin Yuan's keen dynamic vision, he quickly discovered a thin and long bloodstain on the neck of the fallen corpse. An expert had made a move. Moreover, it was an expert who specialized in hidden weapons. Lin Yuan's pupils constricted slightly, and he began to scan the crowd. He had to be on guard against this kind of silent method of taking someone's life. However, compared to the clueless embroidered uniform guard, Lin Yuan's gaze quickly fixed on a bare-chested brawny man. The star of misfortune, Chen Guanshan, was a wanderer of the Qingjiang dynasty. He specialized in hidden weapons and movement techniques. The hidden weapon he was famous for was called the Coil of 1,000 Threads. It was somewhat similar to the method Lin Yuan had seen in the movies of his previous world, where top killers use steel wires to kill people. However, this method of controlling steel wires used true qi to control objects. The steel wires were hidden in the air, and the slightest bit of carelessness could lead to death. Normally, the Coil of 1,000 Threads was worn by Chen Guanshan. However, at this moment, Chen Guanshan was bare-chested. It was obvious that the dead embroidered uniform guard was his handiwork. Of course, only someone like Lin Yuan, who placed great importance on the census and had the shifter emperor asking for information from the Northern Territory Chamber of Commerce, knew of Chen Guanshan's background. If it were anyone else, they would never have guessed that Chen Guanshan was actually a hidden weapon expert just by looking at his bare upper body and bulging muscles. Bang! Bang! Another 2 members of the embroidered uniform guard fell. The cause of death was still the thin and long bloodstain on their necks. The woman surnamed Zhen also looked around for a moment, but she still couldn't lock onto her target. She only looked at Lin Yuan suspiciously for a moment before she gritted her teeth and said, "Form the ring formation." According to Lin Yuan's previous world, the ring formation was actually a group of people forming a circle. Under such circumstances, there was almost no blind spot. Therefore, even the most powerful hidden weapon expert wouldn't be able to succeed easily. Treating the symptoms but not the root cause. Lin Yuan couldn't help but sneer in his heart when he saw the woman's decision. There were still 26 members of the embroidered uniform guard. If they formed the ring formation, they would indeed be able to help each other. However, their opponent was always lurking in the dark, waiting for them to reveal a flaw. As for the embroidered uniform guard, they were always tense. Once the confrontation between the 2 sides dragged on, the matter would quickly be dragged out of the woman's control. "The secret realm is open," someone in the crowd shouted, immediately attracting everyone's attention. The boulder blocking the Rift Valley was indeed lifted up by some strange power. It floated quietly in the water, revealing the Rift Valley that was previously covered, as well as an azure light screen. It was unknown what they would see after passing through the screen of light. However, after passing through the screen of light, they would directly enter the secret realm. The woman surnamed Zhen turned her gaze and said with a gloomy face, "Maintain the formation and move towards the entrance of the secret realm." If 26 people wanted to maintain the same pace, it would be easy for a professional army to do so. However, for an organization like the embroidered uniform guard that was similar to spies and secret agents, they naturally didn't have such training. Therefore, it was naturally very difficult for them to maintain the formation and move. The other cultivators swarmed towards the entrance of the pocket dimension. As for the members of the embroidered uniform guard, they were still dawdling their way forward. Although they felt somewhat sullen, there was still an invisible threat all around them. Not many of them dared to leave their formation so recklessly. Seeing her subordinates hanging their heads in dejection after being suppressed, the woman surnamed Zhen could only start to cheer them on. "Don't worry, don't panic. Take it slow. Bang. Bang." The woman surnamed Zhen hadn't even finished speaking when 2 more embroidered uniform guard members died. Chapter 322. However, this time, it wasn't Chen Guanshan who made a move. Instead, it was Lin Yuan, who had been secretly observing the situation. In this environment where water was everywhere, it would be too easy for Lin Yuan to use his formless ice to take away a few lives. Although Chen Guanshan had already rushed into the secret plane's entrance, his previous actions had still planted a seed of fear in the hearts of these embroidered guard members. Therefore, Lin Yuan only needed to secretly add fuel to the fire, and he would be able to directly raise their fear to panic. As far as the members of the embroidered guard were concerned, it was as if there was an invisible ghost roaming around, wantonly reaping the lives of their comrades. None of them knew if they would be the next to die, so the invisible pressure they felt was extremely terrifying. Bang! Another corpse fell to the ground. Finally, the taut string was completely pulled apart. These embroidered guard members no longer cared about their formation. They all put down the hand cannons in their hands and swarmed towards the secret plane's entrance. After all, since the person who had been secretly attacking them was still killing people, it meant that he definitely hadn't entered the secret plane. Therefore, if they entered the secret plane now and quickly distanced themselves from the people behind them, they would be safe. In the midst of the panic, the woman surnamed Jin's orders didn't have any effect. After all, the last 2 times she had spoken, it had only been effective for a very short period of time. This time, everyone was looking out for themselves. Naturally, no one would pay attention to her. The hunt has begun. Lin Yuan walked to the side of the woman surnamed Jin. His eyes flickered with a cold light as he spoke in a low voice. These 5 simple words were like a heavy hammer that smashed into the woman surnamed Jin's chest. In an instant, it was as if all the strength in her body had been sucked out of her. Even her footsteps became weak, and her eyes revealed a trace of despair. The embroidered guard members gathered here were definitely not weak. However, they weren't that strong either. If they were caught by Lin Yuan alone or in small numbers, they would definitely die. Originally, everyone had maintained their rationality. She could still manage to coordinate and not give Lin Yuan much of an opportunity to take advantage of. But now, the irrationality in the minds of the embroidered guard members had been completely erased. Right now, they only wanted to live. Therefore, the battle between them and Lin Yuan had changed from a competition in which Lin Yuan had a slight advantage to a hunting ritual where Lin Yuan hunted them down. Lin Yuan turned his head and glanced at the woman surnamed Zhen, who was in a daze. A trace of mockery flashed in his eyes. In the end, this woman wasn't a powerful figure. She looked at the problem too superficially. She probably didn't even consider that the lake was currently surrounded by the Beijing Guard Army. Even if she left the lake, she wouldn't be able to easily get past Lei Fan. Furthermore, judging from Chen Guanshan's actions, Lin Yuan was certain that he wasn't the only one targeting the embroidered guard in the dark. After all, although Chen Guanshan was an independent cultivator from the Azure River Empire, the organization that had taught a hidden weapon expert like Chen Guanshan was in existence similar to the embroidered guard in the Azure River Empire. Even if the Azure River Empire and Frost Empire couldn't send a large number of people across the Hengduan Mountains, it wouldn't be a problem for them to send a few elites to kill the embroidered guard. Who asked Lei Qiusheng to be so stubborn? The situation was clearly very tense. Even the resources in the national treasury might not be enough to support a few more large-scale battles. However, Lei Qiusheng just wasn't willing to lower his head. He kept retreating as he continued to fight the Azure River Empire and Frost Empire. The territories that the embroidered guard wanted had already been taken by force. However, Lei Qiusheng just wasn't willing to sign a peace treaty to cede those territories to the embroidered guard. Lin Yuan didn't understand Lei Qiusheng's actions, but he could understand Lei Qiusheng's feelings. Lei Qiusheng's position wasn't rightful to begin with. Even if those people didn't say it out loud, they would still talk about him in secret. If Lei Qiusheng couldn't make great contributions while he was on the throne, even if the Lei clan was able to secure the throne, he would still leave behind a terrible name in the history books. Let alone ceding territory, even if he just defended it, he would be cursed to death by the scholars of the previous dynasty in the Shenwu dynasty. Many emperors in Lin Yuan's previous life had similar psychological burdens, so it wasn't strange. What Lin Yuan found strange was that according to the information he had, Chen Guanshan actually had nothing to do with the organization behind him. At most, he would deal with the embroidered guard out of respect for the person who had taught him how to cultivate. However, he definitely wouldn't do it now, nor would he act so decisively. His actions were more like he was trying to curry favor with Lin Yuan. Thinking up to this point, Lin Yuan had already passed through the door of the secret realm. Following the feeling of constantly falling, the last bit of light in front of Lin Yuan's eyes was completely extinguished. When he regained his vision, he discovered that he had already appeared in an unfamiliar body of water. All sorts of aquatic plants floated around him, as well as colorful corals. Below him was pure white sand. When he raised his head to look up, he saw a clear and transparent water surface. At this moment, sunlight shone through the water surface onto the white sand. The entire scene was magnificent. But, what about those people who had entered the secret realm before him? What about the rumored aquatic monsters? What about the water-washed spiritual objects that were everywhere? After a moment of silence, Lin Yuan used his thoughts to communicate with the system. Stupid system, did I transmigrate again? This place didn't seem like a secret realm filled with dangers and opportunities at all. It was more like a vacation spot. Lin Yuan didn't even see the existence of any other creatures other than himself. Detecting a large number of wisdom state level 4 demonic beasts approaching. Host, please be careful to avoid them. The system didn't directly reply to Lin Yuan. Instead, a warning popped up. Lin Yuan was slightly startled, his face full of confusion. Wisdom state level 4 demonic beasts? He still had to avoid them? What kind of joke was this? In the next moment, Lin Yuan suddenly saw a stretch of white figures from the corner of his eyes. When he looked again, he saw countless small silver fish about a foot long approaching him. Lin Yuan didn't even have time to count the exact number. In any case, these foot-long silver fish meandered through the water surface of several hundred meters. It was extremely visually impactful. Isn't this 2F** King generous? The corner of Lin Yuan's mouth fiercely twitched twice. He didn't dare to hesitate at all. He turned around and swept in the direction where there wasn't any movement. The foot-long fish formed a school of several hundred meters long. Each and every one of them was an existence of wisdom state level 4 demonic beasts. Even if a void realm cultivator encountered such a school, he would at most be able to hold on for 2 to 3 breaths of time before being gnawed into a pile of bones. No wonder the system didn't even have the intention to talk nonsense with him and directly told him to run. Chapter 323. The silver fish were obviously carnivores. When they saw such a delicious prey like Lin Yuan, these small silver fish started to chase after Lin Yuan with bloodshot eyes, as if they were on drugs. They were like sharp arrows in the clear and transparent water. The silver fish were clearly demonic beasts of wisdom state level 4, but their speed was comparable to that of Lin Yuan, a demonic beast at the peak of wisdom state level 10. The distance between the two sides had been maintained all this time. Even if he considered that the other party might just be a demon beast that was good at speed, Lin Yuan had no intention of stopping. After all, he was confident in his defensive power, but even an iron pestle could be ground into a needle. These small silver fish came up and directly gave him a bite. Even if it was scraping, they could directly bite his dragon scales into pieces. Black snake. Soon, a few cultivators appeared in front of Lin Yuan. There was even a member of the embroidered guard among them. At this moment, they didn't have the ruthlessness they had when they were fighting outside the secret realm. They even chatted casually. Of course, their movements weren't slow at all. They frantically searched the nearby waters, wanting to find the rumored priceless treasures. When they saw Lin Yuan being chased by a large school of silver fish, these cultivators didn't panic. Instead, they looked like they were watching a good show, as if they didn't realize the danger that was about to befall them. After all, powerful monsters were all colossal creatures. Even after reaching the wisdom realm, they would intentionally shrink their bodies to move around. However, there wouldn't be any changes to their nature. When they encountered a battle that required them to go all out, they would still reveal their true forms. Therefore, in their eyes, these silver fish didn't pose any threat at all. There was even a human cultivator who courted death and took the initiative to approach Lin Yuan. Moreover, he reached out to touch the silver fish that were constantly flying over. He sneered, as expected of the Blackwater Dragon King of the Northern Frontier. Even when encountering these aquatic beasts that aren't under his jurisdiction, our Dragon King is still kind and benevolent. He isn't willing to kill them. Yes, a wild beast. That was the cultivator's judgment. After all, any random intelligent demonic beast would be over 100 meters long, and they wouldn't always move together with their own group. In the eyes of demonic beasts, only the weak would move in groups, and these hundreds of meters long silver fish obviously couldn't be any powerful existences. However, at the very next moment, the cultivator who provoked the silver fish paid a terrible price. The level 8 airborne realm cultivator did not even have a chance to struggle before the silver fish. His shield of spiritual chi was eaten up by the silver fish in less than a blink of an eye, followed by his flesh and bones. The cultivator still had a mocking smile on his face at the moment of his death. He then disappeared right before everyone's eyes. Even the blood floating in the water was quickly devoured by the silver fish. It was obvious that a human was not enough to satisfy the silver fish's thirst for flesh and blood. After devouring the cultivator, the silver fish did not stop at all. Instead, their eyes turned blood red, and they thirsted for flesh and blood even more. Lin Yuan had long expected the cultivator's fate. After all, there had been more than one terrifying disaster like the locust plague in his previous life. Those locusts that blotted out the sky and covered the earth did not stop at all. All kinds of plants in the mountains were eaten up, and that was under the condition that there were plants for them to eat. At most, the refugees could not find food to fill their stomachs. However, if there were no plants and they encountered a locust plague, those hungry locusts would really eat people directly. Lin Yuan did not know what these silver fish were, but their feeding habits and numbers were all there. It was not an exaggeration to call these silver fish locusts. The remaining cultivators frowned at the same time. After seeing their comrade die, they did not dare to have any other thoughts. One by one, they began to follow Lin Yuan and began to run. Finally, the silver fish stopped chasing Lin Yuan and his party. Pairs of blood-red eyes paused on Lin Yuan and the other cultivators for a moment. They then turned from the back to the front and began to turn back the way they came. Phew. Ha, ha. Did we survive? A cultivator put his hands on his waist, showing obvious signs of fear on his face. Those silver fishes were simply too good at chasing. He was at level 8 of the airborne realm, and he entered the secret realm in his prime, yet he ended up being chased by those silver fishes until he was exhausted before he was even able to find any spirit items. If the chase were to continue, he might have been left behind due to exhaustion of spiritual chi. The environment around them was more or less the same. Lin Yuan and the other cultivators were all running with their hands on their heads, so they had no idea how far they had run. There were even some unlucky ones who fell behind due to running out of spiritual chi. They were also devoured by the silver fish. Lin Yuan was speechless. Lin Yuan looked at the panting cultivator with a blank expression and did not say anything. Instead, he began to look around with the corner of his eyes. After being chased by the silver fish, Lin Yuan's rating of the secret realm rose again. While they were safe for the time being, Lin Yuan did not let his guard down. It was obvious that the silver fish were not uninterested in them. Before they left, Lin Yuan was able to see a strong reluctance in the eyes of those silver fish. It was obvious that those silver fish did not let them go of their own accord. As such, there were only two possibilities for the current situation where they escaped. First, every creature in the secret realm was limited by the creator of the realm. Lin Yuan and the others just happened to escape the space of the silver fish, which was why they were able to escape. Second, the silver fish did not let them go for any other reason but because they had entered the territory of even more terrifying creatures. If they entered the waters without careful consideration, those silver fish would have turned from hunters to prey in an instant. As such, the silver fish had no choice but to give up on pursuing them. Lin Yuan personally leaned toward the latter. After all, if it was the former, the being who set up the secret realm was too terrifying. Not only could it create such a terrifying secret realm, but it could also cut the area in the secret realm and restrict the activities of the creatures in the secret realm. That being said, the Fire Kirin, who had once created the Sumra world, was far inferior to the being who created the secret realm. Chapter 324. Currently, the strongest in the demon clan was only in the wild demon realm, while the strongest in the human clan was only in the Kongming realm. It was hard to say if there were existences of a higher realm above them, but this was definitely not the era where they were active. Moreover, not only did such existences not appear in the world, they did not even leave behind any inheritance. Otherwise, with the aptitude of the beast Lord Kirin, how could he be in the wild demon realm now? This arcane realm could not have been left behind by the mighty people of ancient times, could it? What kind of joke was this? Roar. At this moment, an earth-shattering roar was heard. Lin Yuan instantly stood up, his pair of different-colored eyes revealing a dignified look. Although the system did not indicate what realm the owner of this roar was in, Lin Yuan felt a strong pressure from this roar. This was extremely inconceivable for Lin Yuan, who had the pure blood of the water dragon in his body, because he could not see a trace of pressure on the faces of the human cultivators around him. They were purely afraid that the owner of this roar would appear in front of them. Therefore, this pressure should have come from above the bloodline. To be able to suppress the blood of the water dragon so easily, could it be that the owner was a descendant of the spring snow dragon? I'm kidding, brother. Although Lin Yuan had spread the rumor that this arcane realm was actually the burial place of a fallen dragon, Lin Yuan did not really think that there were pure-blooded dragons in this arcane realm. After all, there were only a few of them in the Dragon Palace of the Four Seas. How could they appear in such a small arcane realm? However, the truth was right in front of him. Lin Yuan had to mobilize all his attention and began to be vigilant in the direction of the roar. Soon, two huge creatures that were constantly entangled and strangling each other appeared in Lin Yuan's sight. Dragon. Jiao. Lin Yuan's gaze was almost instantly attracted by the entangled huge creatures. Although the system did not prompt him and it was the first time he saw these two creatures, the identity of the other party inexplicably appeared in his mind. As a giant python that was about to transform into a dragon, Lin Yuan had an innate sense of familiarity with the dragon, but that was all. After all, in this strange arcane realm, who knew what kind of mentality these monsters had? What if they were all bloodthirsty lunatics like the Fire Kirin's Summer world? As for the Jiao, it was Lin Yuan's first time seeing it. However, he had heard of this creature more than once in his previous life. It was said that this creature was an imaginary creature based on the model of a water snake. Some people said that the Jiao would transform into a dragon after 500 years, and it was an existence similar to a young dragon. However, whether this creature really existed or not, there was no evidence in Lin Yuan's era. He had only seen the carvings of the Jiao on some bronzes from the end of the Western Zhou dynasty. Therefore, to be able to see the existence of this creature with his own eyes was still a great shock to Lin Yuan. However, at least Lin Yuan could be sure that the Jiao in this world was not a young dragon. On the contrary, this Jiao did not seem to be inferior to the dragon it was fighting. However, in terms of combat strength, the two should be at the same level. Gulp. A human cultivator swallowed a mouthful of saliva heavily. He really regretted it now. He shouldn't have rashly entered this secret realm that had never been explored by anyone just because of some rumors. First, there were those extremely terrifying silver fish. Now, there were two extremely terrifying snake-type demonic beasts that were fighting each other. If he was lucky enough to survive, who knew what kind of terrifying things he would see in a while? Run. Lin Yuan narrowed his eyes slightly and calmly spat out a word. Immediately, he rushed in another direction without looking back. When he was still a monster in the Spirit Awakening realm, he had tangled with an earthen yellow python. In the end, he had easily strangled a tiger-type monster whose cultivation was higher than his. Although the dragon and the Jiao were fighting ferociously and did not pay attention to these creatures who had intruded into this realm, their position just happened to be in the path of the two monsters. If they did not dodge in time and were caught in the entanglement of the two monsters, Lin Yuan would not dare to say that he could survive even if he revealed his true form, let alone these fragile human cultivators. When the remaining cultivators saw that Lin Yuan had decisively fled, they naturally did not dare to stay in place. After all, as long as the Heaven's Strength Realm big shots did not make a move, Lin Yuan was the strongest person to explore this arcane realm. Now that even Lin Yuan did not have the intention to fight with the two monsters in front of them, why should they show off? In fact, Lin Yuan and his party were not the only ones who were crazily hunted down. All the people who entered the secret realm were disrupted by some kind of special force and were randomly teleported to various corners of the secret realm. Those who were lucky were even directly sent to the side of a certain spiritual object, and those who were unlucky fell directly into the nest of a demon beast. However, most of them were like Lin Yuan and the others, who were randomly teleported to a certain area in the secret realm and then began their journey to explore the secret realm. However, with the exception of those who were directly sent to the side of the spirit item, almost everyone else was chased by the monsters in the arcane realm in a frenzy. They did not see the spirit item at all, and many cultivators even lost their lives for no reason. If the forces behind those cultivators were to find out about it, they would probably be heartbroken. After all, while airborne realm cultivators were not top-notch fighters, they were still very difficult to train as the mainstay of the forces. Especially those who were able to enter the arcane realm smoothly, there was no way they would be ordinary people. If someone at level 8, 9, or even 10 of the airborne realm were to run into monsters in the arcane realm, they would be crushed in an instant without even having the chance to fight back. Even if they were lucky enough to survive, they would have to endure a long period of being chased. There was even a chance that they would be able to shake off the monsters chasing them and enter the territory of more powerful monsters. In the beginning, those cultivators all thought that they were just unlucky. However, the area of the arcane realm was limited. Soon, many cultivators gathered together and began to talk about their unbearable experiences during this period of time. It was only then that they found that everyone seemed to be the same. That arcane realm was not for them to explore at all. It was for fear that the monsters in the arcane realm would starve to death in there. That was why they deliberately let those cultivators in there to feed them. In an instant, countless cultivators cursed the person who spread the news about the arcane realm. The resentment of those people almost broke through the sky. At that moment, the woman surnamed Zhen, who was being cursed by countless people, was mixed in the crowd with a complicated expression on her face. She looked at the arcane realm that was completely unfamiliar to her. Chapter 325. Why was it like this? How did things turn out like this? Why were the things in the mystic realm completely different from what the embroidered uniform guards secretaries had surveyed? 4 hours later. Almost all the cultivators who had entered the mystic realm had gathered in a relatively safe area. It was also the territory of the silver fish that Lin Yuan's group had been in before. Although there were many silver fish, they were all Class 4 sentient realm demonic beasts. These demonic beasts should be at the bottom of the food chain in the mystic realm. In terms of strength, Lin Yuan could easily crush a large number of them when he saw the flying serpent and water flood dragon entangled together. After Lin Yuan's group had rushed for a distance, they decisively returned to the area where the silver fish had first chased them and successfully met up with the cultivators who were gradually gathering here. That area should be the most terrifying place. Lin Yuan had seen at least 7 water flood dragons. As for the slightly weaker flying serpents, Lin Yuan had seen at least 30 of them. Even the weakest of them was comparable to a Heaven Dipper realm existence. With Lin Yuan's little bit of cultivation, even if he had the pure water flood dragon bloodline in his body, he wouldn't dare to move freely in that area. However, perhaps because of the bloodline, although those water flood dragons didn't communicate with Lin Yuan, none of them took the initiative to attack Lin Yuan. In fact, when some of the flying serpents tried to attack them, the water flood dragons would let out a series of warning roars. Otherwise, they might not have been able to walk out of there alive. Could this place really be the burial ground of some ancient dragon? Lin Yuan secretly pondered in his heart, and there was some doubt in his eyes. Die! An angry roar suddenly woke Lin Yuan from his thoughts. A burly man with bulging muscles brandished 2 broad axes and charged straight at Lin Yuan. Just by looking at his scarlet eyes, Lin Yuan was certain that this guy had been scared out of his wits by the mystic realm's demonic beasts. Or rather, this guy had been scared out of his wits by the mystic realm's demonic beasts. Now, whenever he saw a demonic beast, he would have an inner demon. He didn't care that Lin Yuan was an outsider like him and treated Lin Yuan as one of the mystic realm's demonic beasts. He immediately brandished his weapons and charged at Lin Yuan. Lin Yuan's thoughts were interrupted, and he opened his eyes with an unhappy face. A blue light bloomed in his heterochromatic pupils. The next moment, the water around the brawny man instantly rushed. There was no chance to react at all. These water currents formed a strong water rope and directly tied the brawny man up. Then, Lin Yuan looked around. The group of human cultivators lowered their heads silently, not daring to make any eye contact with Lin Yuan. After all, they knew very well that even if they cultivated water-type cultivation methods, fighting underwater with a water-type demonic beast like Lin Yuan would not be easy. As for this burly man, who would care about him? He wasn't smart enough to go looking for trouble with that black snake. Wasn't that just courting death? Seeing that no one spoke up and no one stood up for the burly man, Lin Yuan sneered. Then, he controlled the water rope to quickly tighten. The burly man didn't even have a chance to struggle and was directly strangled to death by the invisible water rope. After the burly man lost his life, Lin Yuan continued to control the water rope to strangle his corpse. In the blink of an eye, the corpse was almost unrecognizable. Only then did Lin Yuan let go of the man. As the only anomaly among the explorers of the mystic realm, Lin Yuan didn't expect these human cultivators to stand on his side. He was even sure that he would be excluded. If he kept silent, someone would take the initiative to expel him from this temporarily safe gathering place. Even though the burly man with the axe had messed up his thoughts even more, it just happened to give him an opportunity to make an example out of him. Before some people with ulterior motives could make things difficult for him, Lin Yuan would use his strength to shut their mouths. Black Snake, how dare you! In the end, there were still some people who couldn't sit still, and a pair of cold eyes fell on Lin Yuan's face. Lin Yuan looked at the human cultivators who stood up, and the sneer on his face deepened. Among them were the embroidered uniform guards, the disciples of the Northern Frontier sects, and a few demon slayers who often wandered around the Hengduan mountain range. No matter what they thought of Lin Yuan before, Lin Yuan's identity as a Yao beast was enough reason for them to make things difficult for Lin Yuan. The Demon Slayers Association had been completely abolished by Lin Yuan. Even though the trade of Yao beast materials in the Northern Frontier continued, this lucrative business no longer had anything to do with the Demon Slayers Association. Now, almost all the people who hunted in the Yao Beast Forest were hunting teams organized by the Northern Frontier's royal residents. There were even some Yao beasts who hunted other Yao beasts in exchange for spiritual items for cultivation. The demon slayers who made a living by hunting Yao beasts were just like them. Even though Lin Yuan didn't hate them, he naturally had a trace of disgust towards them. Naturally, he wouldn't allow them to continue developing in the Northern Frontier. Following the collapse of the Demon Slayers Association, some of the demon slayers who had benefited greatly from the association had no choice but to become idle cultivators. Therefore, compared to the sects that hadn't been uprooted yet, these demon slayers hated Lin Yuan even more, the true ruler of the Northern Frontier. It was to be expected that they would make things difficult for Lin Yuan at a time like this. Stop. Stop fighting amongst yourselves. Before Lin Yuan could confront the few demon slayers who had expressed their stance, someone couldn't help but yell. Lin Yuan glanced at the person who had spoken. It was Qin Guanshan, who had taken action against the embroidered guard earlier. Lin Yuan had mixed feelings about Qin Guanshan. He felt that this person was deliberately trying to curry favor with him. However, he had only acted in secret before. Now, Qin Guanshan was openly supporting him. Naturally, the meaning behind this was different. No matter what, Qin Guanshan's words were no different from standing against the sects of the Northern Frontier and the remnants of the Northern Frontier's Demon Slayers Association. The situation had spiraled out of control. Many cultivators even felt a faint sense of despair. No one knew what would happen next. If a conflict really did erupt, Lin Yuan would only be able to escape at most. As for saving Qin Guanshan, who had spoken up for him, that would be a pipe dream. The demon slayers who had angrily rebuked Lin Yuan earlier narrowed their eyes. They said coldly, Junior, what is the meaning of this? This Yao beast is plotting against us. It attacked and killed a member of our human race without permission. Did you not see it? Or are you saying that you are jackals of the same tribe as this Yao beast? Chapter 326. Who was Chen Guanshan? He was a renowned master of hidden weapons in the Qingjiang dynasty. Back in the territory of the Qingjiang dynasty, Chen Guanshan's name would have easily silenced a large number of cultivators. However, in the northern frontier, Chen Guanshan's name was clearly not well known enough. Any random person would have dared to call Chen Guanshan a young man. You called me a young man? The corner of Chen Guanshan's mouth curled into a mocking smirk. The aura of a heavenly strength realm cultivator slowly emanated from Chen Guanshan at the very next moment. The demon slayer, who had been making a ruckus earlier, stared at Chen Guanshan with wide eyes, unable to believe what he had just heard. He was just a level 9 airborne realm demon slayer, after all. He was hardly considered a big deal even in the north. Yet, a heavenly strength realm being like Chen Guanshan was more than capable of squashing him to death right there and then. After calming down and thinking for a while, the demon slayer took a deep breath and frowned. Who are you? As someone who had been hanging around the northern frontier for decades, he could even proudly say that there were few people he didn't know in the northern frontier. Of course, those powerful people didn't know him at all. They had only heard of him or seen him from afar. However, at that moment, he couldn't have imagined that there would be someone who looked like Chen Guanshan among the heavenly strength realm cultivators in the northern frontier. In the end, he didn't find any clues. Chen Guanshan was still not among those who were stuck at the bottleneck and could break through to the heavenly strength realm at any time. That meant that the burly young man was a cultivator from outside. But why would a cultivator from outside be on the Black Snake's side? The Demon Slayer Master could not figure it out. Of course, he did not have the chance to figure it out. By the time he opened his mouth to ask, Chen Guanshan had already made his move. Moreover, his first move was an extremely terrifying killing move. Practically no one could see Chen Guanshan's hands move. Next, the Demon Slayer Master's chest was filled with sharp daggers. Hiss! A series of gasps could be heard from all around. At this moment, Chen Guanshan lifted his eyelids slightly and said expressionlessly, "There is a right and wrong. Everyone is in an extremely dangerous mystic realm. Forgive me for being blunt, but if you recklessly explore this mystic realm with your own strength, you will only die without knowing how you died. Therefore, I advise everyone to cooperate sincerely and explore this mystic realm together. It would be best if you can find the spiritual item, but if you can't, you have to find a way out." Chen Guanshan's words undoubtedly resonated with many cultivators. They could put aside their prejudices and hatred towards Lin Yuan because they didn't have the capital they used to have. In this mystic realm that was fraught with danger, any powerful combatant was a valuable asset. Instead of chasing Lin Yuan away because of some old grudge, it was better for everyone to unite and find a way out of the mystic realm. Whatever grudges they had, they could settle them after leaving this place. The cultivators all agreed and returned to their seats to rest. After all, they had all been chased by demonic beasts in the mystic realm for half a day. Apart from Lin Yuan, who was a demonic beast, only those Heaven Dipper realm experts could recover their fighting strength in a short time. This was also one of the reasons why Lin Yuan killed the axe-wielding brawny man in an instant. After everyone rested, Chen Guanshan walked over to Lin Yuan's side and sat down cross-legged. He cast a meaningful glance at Lin Yuan and even winked playfully. Previously, outside the mystic realm, and what he said just now, undoubtedly displayed Chen Guanshan's personality that didn't match his appearance. He was a person who was both sinister and clever. Lin Yuan still maintained a vigilant attitude and didn't take the initiative to speak. "Black Snake, I know you are very curious now. Curious as to why I am helping you. It's just that you don't want to say it." Chen Guanshan looked as if he had seen through Lin Yuan and leisurely transmitted his voice. The faction that I came from specially invited me to the northern frontier to suppress the activities of the embroidered uniform guards and use this opportunity to put pressure on the Shinwu dynasty. This is for public reasons. And to have a good relationship with you is also very important to my plans. This is for private reasons. Enough. Before Chen Guanshan could finish speaking, Lin Yuan used his thoughts to interrupt Chen Guanshan. He narrowed his eyes and said, "If you want to join the association of the Demon Emperor, you can just say it. In any case, I will not agree to it." Chen Guanshan's back was facing the crowd, but he was facing Lin Yuan. When Lin Yuan finished speaking, Chen Guanshan's expression instantly turned awkward. This was because he didn't expect that his little thoughts were completely under Lin Yuan's control. He also didn't expect that Lin Yuan would actually reject him so directly. But why? The association of the Demon Emperor was far from having enough manpower. There was only one Heaven Dipper realm existence, the Winesword Mystic. There was no reason to reject a Heaven Dipper realm concealed weapon expert like him. You are from the Qing River Empire. I don't know what you are thinking, and it has nothing to do with me. But I am sure that you and I are definitely not on the same side. As for the plan that you mentioned, I have a rough guess in my heart. In order to dispel those thoughts that you shouldn't have, I don't mind wasting my breath on you. In fact, you have already severed your relationship with the faction behind you. This time, they still found you and took out a bargaining chip that you couldn't reject. Or, they threatened you with the safety of the people you care about, forcing you to come to the northern frontier. So I am sure that you are very dissatisfied. Now that you are in a predicament, even if you don't say it, I am sure that you don't have much confidence in finding a way out. So the dissatisfaction in your heart has accumulated to the extreme. It can even be said that you are on the verge of exploding. At this stage, you are even thinking of taking revenge on the faction that forced you to come to the northern frontier. But obviously, you don't have enough strength, so you thought of me. You might as well use the name of the association of the Demon Emperor on yourself. In this way, if the faction behind you wants to touch you again, they will have to think twice. Lin Yuan still squinted his eyes and said slowly in his mind, "Of course, your interest in the association of the Demon Emperor is actually too great. But you understand the organizational structure of the association of the Demon Emperor. You know very well that even I, the Demon Emperor, don't have the authority to order the members of the association of the Demon Emperor to do things. On the contrary, the association of the Demon Emperor adopts the method of helping each other. If any member wants other members to help him, he will have to take out a bargaining chip that is full of sincerity. Otherwise, the association of the Demon Emperor can completely ignore it. Rather than saying that you are interested in the potential of the association of the Demon Emperor, it is better to say that you are interested in the freedom of the association of the Demon Emperor." Chapter 327. Lin Yuan's words were not unreasonable. The Northern Territory Chamber of Commerce did not only threaten the Shinwu dynasty. With the Northern Territory Chamber of Commerce's existence, the goods of the 7 dynasties could all flow through the Hengduan Mountains. It was much more convenient and safer than going around the Hengduan Mountains and passing through several dynasties to reach their destination. Therefore, the Northern Territory Chamber of Commerce's behavior not only brought more benefits to the northern frontier, but also brought benefits to the 7 dynasties. If any of the 7 dynasties offended Lin Yuan, the Northern Region Chamber of Commerce would only have to give up a portion of their profits. However, this dynasty would need 3 to 5 times the time to conduct trade activities. If this situation persisted for a long time, the Northern Region Chamber of Commerce would soon be left far behind by the other 6 dynasties in terms of economy. Although the Shifter Emperor Association was a shady organization, no one in the 7 dynasties dared to offend someone like Lin Yuan. Even the Shinwu dynasty had to do things in secret. Otherwise, it would be easy for their economy to collapse, making their already poor treasury even worse. Then Chen Guanshan's eyes were wide open as he still tried to persuade Lin Yuan to change his mind. However, Lin Yuan only narrowed his eyes slightly and replied casually, "If you just want to join the Shifter Emperor Association, then I have nothing to say." However, your thoughts are not limited to just this, right? Qin Guanshan was speechless again. He did not expect this black snake to be so proficient in manipulating people's minds. At this moment, Qin Guanshan even felt cold sweat seeping out of his back. It was as if Lin Yuan had seen through him completely. I advise you to put away those unrealistic thoughts. The Shifter Emperor Association's operation model is indeed good, but the other 6 dynasties are all deeply rooted. There is no room for the association to grow at all, unlike now where I can casually summon a large group of people who are dissatisfied with the Shenwu dynasty. Other than the demi-humans and criminals, even the disciples and officials of the Wanjian dynasty have expressed their support for us. This condition is not available in the other 6 dynasties, so the Northern Territory Chamber of Commerce can do business there. However, once the association enters the territories of the other 6 dynasties, it will be quickly monitored. If you rope in the criminals and demi-humans of the Qingjiang dynasty to establish a branch of the association, then what awaits you will be the cruelest attack from the Qingjiang dynasty. Lin Yuan's heterochromatic eyes flashed. Qin Guanshan could not understand what he was thinking at all. However, Qin Guanshan had to agree because Lin Yuan's words were indeed reasonable. The association of the Shifter Emperor seemed to be loose, but it was actually very united. Their muzzles were all aimed at the Shenwu dynasty. Back then, the Shenwu dynasty did not take the association of the Shifter Emperor seriously, so now they had lost the northern frontier. Even the cities bordering the northern frontier had begun to be infiltrated by the Northern Territory Chamber of Commerce and the association of the Shifter Emperor. In the past, the economic center was in the imperial capital, in the south along the coast, so it was normal for the country to be prosperous and the people to be at peace. However, the Shenwu dynasty was now at war on 4 fronts. Even if the Hengduan Mountains and the dragon palaces of the 4 seas had stopped attacking the Shenwu dynasty, the northern frontier had already fallen into Lin Yuan's control. What belonged to the Shenwu dynasty was only left in name. The rich south was also riddled with holes after being attacked by the sea monsters under the dragon palaces of the 4 seas. Now that the south could not even take care of itself, how could they have the leisure to support other cities? In this way, the northern frontier, which could create a lot of benefits, naturally became a delicious piece of cake in the eyes of the various city lords and aristocratic families. Even the sects and forces that were not within Lin Yuan's sphere of influence were welcoming of the association of the Shifter Emperor and the Northern Territory Chamber of Commerce. Although Lin Yuan had been hiding in the northern frontier during this period of time, if he were to really take action, the Qingping king who had hundreds of thousands of soldiers could be easily defeated. However, Lin Yuan obviously did not have the intention to be a minister, so naturally, he would not share Lei Qiusheng's burden. With the Shenwu dynasty as an example, even if the kings of the other 6 dynasties were stupid, they would not allow the association of the Shifter Emperor or similar organizations to take root and sprout in their own territories. Therefore, Lin Yuan could use the northern frontier as a foundation to slowly radiate his power to the surroundings. However, if Qin Guanshan wanted to use the northern frontier as a pretense to establish a branch of the association of the Shifter Emperor in the territories of other dynasties, it was undoubtedly an act of suicide. Once Qin Guanshan did so, the other 6 dynasties would not only attack him immediately, but they would also directly block the outflow of foreign trade to the Northern Territory Chamber of Commerce, minimizing the benefits that Lin Yuan could obtain as much as possible. Phew, Lin Yuan let out a long breath, tilted his head, and said, "In short, if you want to stay in the northern frontier and join the association of the Shifter Emperor, I welcome you. However, if you want to borrow my banner and establish your own association of the Shifter Emperor, then I will be the first to crusade against you." Qin Guanshan's expression was uncertain, but he just nodded silently, indicating that he understood. Although he was unwilling, Lin Yuan had already made it very clear to him, and those ideas in his heart were destined to not become reality. Therefore, he could only put his attention on the urgent matter at hand, to find the exit. The existence of this secret realm had been discovered by the embroidered uniform guard. Even though the ordinary cultivators didn't know about it, the cultivators with a bit of knowledge had already surrounded the woman surnamed Zhen and the embroidered uniform guard under her command. Pairs of furious eyes were fixed on them, as if they wanted an explanation. Qin Guanshan let out a sigh, cupped his hands at Lin Yuan, and walked towards the woman surnamed Jin. Seeing Chen Guanshan's back gradually getting further and further away, Lin Yuan let out a long sigh. Not to mention that the plan to establish a branch of the Association of the Shifter Emperor was impossible. Even if it could be done, Lin Yuan would not agree. After all, if the branch of the Association of the Shifter Emperor was established by Chen Guanshan, then when Lin Yuan's influence expanded to the territory of the Azure River Empire one day, would this branch of the Association of the Shifter Emperor listen to Lin Yuan or Chen Guanshan? The organization was loose, but just like when he dealt with the remnants of the Zhou clan, Lin Yuan could casually gather the members of the Association of the Shifter Emperor to work for him, and what he needed to pay was just a little benefit that slipped through the fingers of the system. This simple condition was not something that anyone could casually pay. The Association of the Shifter Emperor seemed to be free now, but in fact, it was completely under Lin Yuan's control. Therefore, he did not wish for the Association of the Shifter Emperor to gradually degenerate into an organization that even he felt unfamiliar with, and even more so, did not wish for existences like Chen Guanshan and Li Guanshan, who tried to use the name of the Association of the Shifter Emperor to seek benefits for themselves. Chapter 328. Let's not talk about Chen Guanshan's thoughts. At this moment, the one with the most complicated feelings was none other than the woman surnamed Zhen. After all, they were surrounded by a group of cultivators. Although no one said anything, she knew that this secret realm was so dangerous and terrifying. As the embroidered uniform guard who spread the news, if they didn't give an explanation, it would be very difficult for them to get out of here alive. But an explanation, what kind of explanation was that? Even now, she was still in a state of confusion. She had no idea how things had turned out like this. The situation in the secret realm that the embroidered uniform guard had explored was completely different from this one. If she had known that this secret realm was so dangerous, she would have only needed to lure the black snake in. Why would she have come? Swish swish swish, swish swish swish. It wasn't some cultivator's angry roar that broke the silence, nor was it the woman surnamed Zhen's explanation. Instead, it was a series of strange sounds. When everyone turned their heads, they discovered that a large school of silver-white fish had swum back. In reality, when they had just arrived here, the group of silver-white fish had already attacked them more than once. It was just a group of Wisdom Realm Level 4 fiend beasts. Even if they had an absolute advantage in numbers, these small silver-white fish still weren't a match for cultivators who had reached a certain level of numbers. That was why their previous attacks were easily repelled. But now that the silver-white fish had returned, they clearly weren't as easy to deal with as before. According to the system's notification, there were even quite a few elite experts of Wisdom Realm Level 6 and Level 8 in this school of silver-white fish. And in the huge school of fish that stretched for at least several thousand meters, there were even 2 peak Wisdom Realm fish kings. In terms of pure strength, the school of fish that had chased after Lin Yuan's group wasn't even worthy of carrying the shoes of this school of fish. Prepare for battle. A cultivator pulled out the saber at his waist. Even though it was inconvenient to brandish it underwater, everyone present knew how terrifying the silver-white fish were. That was why even those who were extremely confident in their physical strength chose to use all kinds of weapons at this moment. Otherwise, it would be easy for them to lose some parts of their bodies as they fought. In the face of a great enemy, private conflicts could no longer erupt. No one could say whether or not they would be able to survive the end of this battle. But at this moment, if they didn't fight, they would die. Only by fighting would they have a chance of survival. The cultivators all pulled out their weapons and waited, their eyes occasionally stopping on those large silver fish that were much larger than normal small silver fish, as if they wanted to deduce what cultivation realm these new fiend beasts were in. However, they didn't have the system after all, so based on their auras, they could only determine that these fiend beasts were still in Wisdom Realm. After a moment of silence, Lin Yuan took the initiative to say, "The silver fish that are 1 foot long are at the 4th level of Wisdom Perception, those that are about 3 feet long are at the 6th level of Wisdom Perception, and those that are 7 feet long are at the 8th level of Wisdom Perception. Be careful, there are 2 powerful auras in this school of fish that aren't inferior to mine. It's just that I haven't found them yet. Almost, on par with Lin Yuan? The cultivators looked at each other in dismay. Although most of them hadn't seen Lin Yuan fight with his full strength, Lin Yuan's killing of the desolate demon realm's fire Kirin was something that everyone knew. Even if Lin Yuan took advantage of the fact that the fire Kirin was injured and weak, he should still be around the 10th level of wisdom perception. In other words, in this school of fish, there were at least 2 terrifying 10th level fiend beasts. Just as everyone was on high alert, Lin Yuan suddenly received a telepathic message. As fiend beasts, why are you helping these damned humans? Before this, he hadn't communicated with the water serpent and the flying serpent. Now that he was facing a school of small silver fish, the other party actually took the initiative to communicate with Lin Yuan. Lin Yuan couldn't help but be dazed for a moment, but very quickly, Lin Yuan locked onto a large fish that was about 3 meters long hidden in the school of fish. It was clearly one of the 2 10th level of wisdom perception. Faced with the other party's question, Lin Yuan only sneered, and coldly replied, "That's right, it's true that you and I are both fiend beasts, but the way your fiend beasts chased after me before, they didn't treat me as one of them." Trying to rope in Lin Yuan just because they were both fiend beasts? To put it bluntly, even if all of the cultivators here were added together, it probably wouldn't be enough to feed this school of fish. After killing these humans, these so-called fellow fiend beasts would make a move on him. Even though Lin Yuan had been a fiend beast for more than a year, his memories of being a human hadn't been erased. He understood the principle of interdependence, so he didn't continue to use telepathy to communicate with the other party at all. As he spoke, he used his serpent tail to point out the location of this fish king that took the initiative to communicate with him. Seeing Lin Yuan so cooperative, many of the cultivators who were worried that Lin Yuan would stab them in the back all sighed in relief. "Humph, then you deserve to die." The Fish King was clearly greatly angered by Lin Yuan's actions. After a cold snort, it commanded the school of fish around it to start gathering towards the cultivators. Large mouths continuously opened and closed as they tore at the cultivators. In the clear water, they could even clearly see a few sharp teeth in these small silver fishes' mouths. The small silver fishes' speed was very fast. In almost an instant, they came into contact with the human standing at the very front. Lin Yuan controlled the water to kill a school of small silver fish, at the same time saving a few cultivators who seemed to have been scared out of their wits. Only then did he say in a low voice, "These fiend beasts aren't that big of a deal, it's just that there are a lot of them. Everyone work harder, we'll be able to kill them all very quickly." After being reminded by Lin Yuan, some of the cultivators who were scared out of their wits seemed to have woken up from a dream. They began to brandish their weapons to attack the small silver fish that approached them. The situation of the battle quickly became tense. However, to Lin Yuan, ordinary wisdom state level 4 silver fish couldn't bring him any attribute points. Other than saving a few cultivators, Lin Yuan's main targets were still those level 6 and level 8 fellows. Although it was only 0. 1 or 0. 3 attribute points, it was better than wasting his efforts. On the other hand, the 2 fish kings had been hiding in the back. They didn't come up to fight with the cultivators, nor did they have any intention of fighting with Lin Yuan. Only now did Lin Yuan suddenly realize that the fiend beasts in this secret realm seemed to be strange. Regardless of whether it was the water serpent that was secretly protecting him or the fish king that took the initiative to communicate with him, the fiend beasts in this secret realm clearly had their own thoughts. However, what was strange was that the fiend beasts in this secret realm didn't seem to be proficient in battle. Whether it was these small silver fish, the water serpent, or the flying serpent, they all only knew how to use brute force. Chapter 329. The inside and outside of the secret realm were like 2 different worlds. The demonic beasts of the secret realm were more like demonic beasts. They disdained to interact with other demonic beasts, even if it was their own kind. They also didn't scheme or scheme. Compared to those mysterious innate talents, they seemed to have more faith in their physical strength. Although Lin Yuan did not see these demonic beasts of the secret territory display their innate ability, Even though he controlled the water flow to wantonly strangle those small silver fish, the opposing Fish King still had no intention of controlling the power of the water flow to fight with Lin Yuan. It just watched coldly from the side. The Fish King's question seemed to have been asked out of curiosity, not to pull Lin Yuan into its camp. They were all demonic beasts, so why should they help humans? It was hard to say how long this secret realm had existed, but the demonic beasts' attitude towards humans was similar to the demonic beasts' attitude towards humans before they had unified the Tianwu continent. Their contempt and disdain wasn't something that could be casually feigned. After all, the demonic beasts of the Tianwu continent didn't dare to act tough when they saw humans in the depths of the Hengduan mountain range. This secret realm really did seem to have been created by some almighty expert in ancient times. That almighty expert had probably seen a glimpse of the future through the friction between demonic beasts and humans. That was why he had created this secret realm. His goal was to ensure that the demonic beast's bloodline continued to flourish. These demonic beasts were most likely the descendants of that almighty expert. They had stayed in this fake secret realm that didn't see the light of day and had lost contact with the outside world. That was why they didn't know the relationship between the demonic beasts of the Tianwu continent and humans. If that was the case, Lin Yuan's eyes suddenly lit up with fervor. If it really was as he had guessed, then the secret realm that the embroidered uniform guard had discovered was real. However, the secret realm had been split into different regions by that almighty expert. Adding on the fact that they had been randomly teleported into the secret realm, they naturally wouldn't be able to find that almighty expert's hidden treasure. The value of this secret realm might be even higher than what the embroidered uniform guard had expected. Aside from the demonic beasts that had been born in this secret realm, there might also be the legacy and inheritance of that almighty expert. Taking a deep breath, Lin Yuan calmed himself down. The fervor in his eyes dissipated a little. He still needed more evidence to determine if it was the same as what he had speculated, but there was still an urgent matter to deal with right now. Of course, the cultivators who could enter the secret zone were no ordinary people. As a result, even though they had been shocked by the momentum of the countless silver fish's charge, they had already adapted to the silver fish's rhythm. Moreover, they relied on their higher cultivation to directly unleash various techniques. In the blink of an eye, swathes of silver fish were killed. A large amount of blood mist practically dyed the clear water red. However, it wasn't as if the humans didn't suffer any losses. In just a short while, the number of human cultivators who had died to the silver fish's sharp teeth had already exceeded 2 digits. That was almost a sixth of the total number of human cultivators present. Licking his lips, Lin Yuan swung his serpent tail, causing a few silver fish that had circled around him to explode. He was still controlling the water flow to kill the silver fish, but the frequency at which he did so was no longer as terrifying as before. He only saved a few human cultivators at critical moments. Moreover, most of them were disciples of aristocratic families. A few of them were foreign cultivators, and none of them held any enmity towards Lin Yuan. Lin Yuan was naturally confident that he could escape unscathed from the encirclement of the silver fish. If worse came to worst, he could just run to the neighboring water Wyrm's territory and hide there. So, what did the lives of those cultivators who had old grudges with him have to do with him? It would already be good enough if Lin Yuan didn't take advantage of this opportunity to kill them. Chen Guanshan took a deep breath and threw out a cold light with a flick of his hand. In almost an instant, he killed a small shoal of hundreds of silver fish. Then, his gaze paused on Lin Yuan for a moment. Suddenly, a look of understanding flashed across his eyes. The short conversation he had with Lin Yuan before had already made him understand that this black snake's intelligence wasn't low. His grasp of the human heart was an existence that made those scheming strategists gasp in admiration. Therefore, when Lin Yuan suddenly switched from being the main attacker to a support, Lin Yuan must have discovered something and was deliberately eliminating dissidents. Chen Guanshan wasn't the only one who noticed Lin Yuan's abnormal behavior. However, the majority of people thought that this black snake's strength was insufficient and couldn't maintain its previous might. When they saw that the black snake was still protecting the cultivators among them who were in danger because of their carelessness or inability to take care of everything, they didn't continue to pay attention to it. This black snake, the woman surnamed Jin also noticed Lin Yuan's abnormality. Moreover, she didn't dismiss it with a smile. Instead, she seriously observed Lin Yuan for a moment and instantly clenched her teeth. At the beginning, this guy was crazily attacking the shoal of silver fish while also taking care of the cultivators who were in danger. Now, he was attacking the shoal of silver fish from time to time and was deliberately relaxing his protection of the demon slayer master and the sect's disciples. This black snake was clearly doing this on purpose. The only thing the woman surnamed Jin couldn't figure out was that Lin Yuan had clearly started to eliminate dissidents. Why was the embroidered uniform guard still under Lin Yuan's protection? The woman surnamed Jin knew that there must be a reason for this abnormality since she was young. Now, the black snake's strange behavior had caused her to be even more vigilant. However, Lin Yuan didn't have any intention of paying attention to the woman surnamed Jin. He didn't even feel like looking at her. Although he knew that this woman definitely had the most detailed information in her hands, among all the members of the embroidered uniform guard, the woman surnamed Zhen was absolutely the least likely to cooperate with him. Taking a step back, even if the woman surnamed Zhen was willing to cooperate with him, Lin Yuan still had to first consider whether this woman who could casually turn her husband into a bait to lure her into a trap was worthy of his trust. At this moment, the woman surnamed Zhen who had been watching Lin Yuan all this time suddenly discovered that Lin Yuan seemed to have sensed her gaze. He turned his head and looked at her in the eye. Then, he very naturally revealed a wisp of a smile. The woman surnamed Zhen didn't know how to describe this smile. She only felt that Lin Yuan's smile was like a steel knife ruthlessly stabbing into her heart. She inexplicably felt a kind of uneasy feeling. In the next moment, before she could react, the cry of her subordinates rang in her ears. When she turned her head and looked towards the source of the sound, she discovered that a huge figure close to 3 meters in height was floating in front of her. Chapter 330. The Fish King. A level 10 Wisdom Realm Fish King. The Jin woman looked at the huge Fish King in front of her, and a look of panic flashed in her eyes. It was especially so when her face was reflected in those scarlet eyes of the Fish King. The Jin woman seemed to have smelled the scent of death. Crack. It only took an instant. The Jin woman didn't even have the chance to call for help. She was directly cut in half by the Fish King's sharp teeth. The Fish King chewed the half of the corpse in its mouth twice, and a look of excitement flashed in its scarlet eyes. It seemed that the flesh and blood of humans brought it great pleasure. Lin Yuan had never eaten a human before, and there was no need for him to do so. After all, while flesh and blood could provide him with energy for cultivation, after the system extracted the attribute points once, the energy contained in flesh and blood was almost negligible. Therefore, Lin Yuan usually ate to fill his stomach. Eating humans was something that was unacceptable to an existence with a human soul. Therefore, Lin Yuan had no idea what the Fish King was so excited about. However, when the Fish King ate the Jin woman, Lin Yuan subconsciously began to mobilize all the muscles in his body. After all, the Fish King's strange speed of shuttling through the battlefield as if it was in no man's land was enough to make Lin Yuan very vigilant. Therefore, in a battle, especially a fierce one, even a moment of distraction could make one pay a bloody price. The Jin woman was a classic example of what not to do. Although she was no match for the Fish King in a head-on battle with her strength at level 9 airborne realm, at the very least, she wouldn't have died in such a humiliating way. With the help of the other members of the embroidered guard, she wouldn't have had any problems keeping herself alive, even if she couldn't kill the Fish King. The Fish King shook its body, and its eyes paused on Lin Yuan for a moment. It suddenly opened its bloody mouth and sneered at Lin Yuan. It was as if it was announcing that Lin Yuan was its next prey. Chen Guanshan was silent for a moment. With a gentle shake of his right hand, a black rope suddenly appeared under his wrist and wrapped around the Fish King. A faint murderous aura circulated between his brows, making him look like a murderous devil. He had seen the Fish King shuttling through the battlefield and appearing behind the Jin woman. Even he couldn't guarantee that he would be able to escape unscathed from the Fish King's strange speed. But now that the Fish King had targeted Lin Yuan, he had no choice but to take action. The black rope wrapped around the Fish King's tail, and the corners of Chen Guanshan's mouth curled up slightly. It was as if two sharp blades were unsheathed to welcome his enemy. The next moment, Chen Guanshan's Heaven Dipper realm momentum broke out instantly. Even Lin Yuan was shocked by his fierce momentum and narrowed his eyes slightly. Next, Chen Guanshan pulled the black rope with one hand, and the other hand touched his waist. A bright and dazzling light suddenly swept out from his waist, like the bright moon in the sky rotating out. The Fish King didn't even have time to react before it was ruthlessly hit by the dazzling light. The next moment, the scales on the left side of the Fish King's body scattered in all directions, and its flesh and blood curled up. More than half of its body was actually cut open. The entire battlefield instantly quieted down. Every time Chen Guanshan attacked, he could kill a large number of fish. But for a Heaven Dipper realm expert, this kind of action was at most a basic move. But at this moment, Chen Guanshan's move caused the other Heaven Dipper realm experts present to be secretly shocked. They secretly compared themselves to the Fish King and suddenly realized that they couldn't dodge this attack at all. However, demonic beasts were demonic beasts after all. The strength of their physiques was far beyond the imagination of ordinary people, and this was even more so for secret realm demonic beasts. These small silver fish had a speed not inferior to Lin Yuan's even though they were only at the 4th level of the Wisdom Perception realm. And yet, the Wisdom Perception realm 10th level Fish King could easily shuttle through the chaotic battlefield, pass through hundreds of cultivators, and kill the Zhen woman in a mocking manner. This was enough to prove the tyrannical strength of a secret realm demonic beast's physique. Chen Guanshan's attack was very terrifying. Even Lin Yuan couldn't help but admit that other than a monster like him who cultivated the golden body technique, ordinary Wisdom Perception realm 10th level demonic beasts would basically lose their lives if they encountered this kind of attack. After all, the demonic beasts of the Tianwu continent had long neglected the tempering of their physique. Their cultivation methods were more similar to the human world, and they were more proficient in using their innate abilities. Lin Yuan was no exception. However, secret realm demonic beasts were different. They didn't rely on their innate abilities at all. They were more confident in their physique. Although Chen Guanshan's attack had caused the Fish King's flesh to split open, and it was heavily injured, the Fish King only paused for a moment before the wounds on its body began to heal at a speed visible to the naked eye. Countless granules squirmed on both sides of the wounds. Its terrifying self-healing ability was even comparable to that of the Inferno demonic beasts that Lin Yuan had encountered before. However, the Inferno demonic beasts simply didn't suffer a fatal blow. Therefore, the Fish King's self-healing ability was much stronger than that of the Inferno demonic beasts. You really do have some skills. Chen Guanshan whispered softly, and it sounded like he was sighing. Although he had already guessed that the Fish King wouldn't be easy to deal with, he didn't think that the Fish King would have such a terrifying self-healing ability in addition to its extreme speed. In the following battle, if he couldn't directly kill the Fish King with his attacks, then he definitely wouldn't be able to kill the Fish King. He might even be dragged to death by the Fish King. At this moment, the light that injured the Fish King returned to Chen Guanshan's hand, revealing its true appearance. It was a scimitar. Unlike the scimitars of the Shenwu dynasty, the Shenwu dynasty's scimitars were only slightly curved to make it easier to cut through the enemy's body when charging. However, the scimitar in Chen Guanshan's hand was completely different. It was almost C-shaped, and this kind of sharp blade was naturally suited for cavalry battles. As long as the horse was fast enough, this scimitar could easily cut off the head of any enemy. However, it was unavoidably laughable to use this kind of scimitar in a ground battle. A single misuse could easily injure the user. Anyone who was slightly familiar with weapons would easily associate it with the Shuangjin dynasty's scimitars. Those existences known as grassland barbarians were accustomed to using these scimitars. Every winter, they would harvest the heads of soldiers and villagers at the borders of the empire, and laughingly bring back their spoils of war to their own tribes. Although the Shuangjin dynasty didn't lack these things, they liked to use this kind of behavior as a way to celebrate the arrival of the new year. After Chen Guanshan revealed this scimitar, the other cultivators more or less revealed hostility when their twilight lights landed on him. You're tuning in to the Romantic Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.